This is a work session of the Portland City Council. This is March 23rd, 2023. This afternoon, we complete our fiscal year 23-24 service area work sessions. As with the last several sessions, we'll begin by quickly going around the table and introducing everybody around the table so we all know who is here. I'm Ted Wheeler, the mayor of the city of Portland. I went that way last time, I'll go this way.
Commissioner Gonzalez?
Hi, I'm Dan, and I'm the Commissioner of Culture and Livability.
Tim Grew, City Budget Officer.
Eric Engstrom, Deputy Director of Planning and Sustainability.
Bryce Lipke, CBO.
Elshad Hajiev, Deputy Director of BDS.
Rebecca Esau, Director of BDS.
Kimberly Brandon, Prosper Portland Executive Director.
Danielle Vera, Director BPS.
Leslie Goodlow, Equity and Business Operations Manager for the Housing Bureau.
Molly Rogers, Interim Director of the Portland Housing Bureau.
Robert Smith, Entrepreneurship and Community Economic Development Manager, Prosper Portland.
Jeff Selby, he, him pronouns, Office of Equity and Human Rights.
Mengus Maps, Portland City Council, Public Works Commissioner.
Carmen Rubio, Community and Economic Development Commissioner, she, her.
Thank you all. This year's budget work sessions are organized around service areas, administration, public safety, public works, culture and livability, and community and economic development. Today, we're going to dive into the service area of community and economic development, to which Commissioner Rubio is the commissioner in charge. Before I hand this off to Commissioner Rubio, I want to remind folks that there are 2 budget listening sessions remaining for community input to take place. Monday, April 10th, from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. is our next public session, and Saturday, April 15th, from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Work sessions and budget listening sessions are available on the City of Portland's YouTube page as well. Community members can sign up to speak if they'd like at any of the budget listening sessions by visiting the City Budget Office website at www.portland.gov/CBO. Click on the fiscal year 23-24 budget events tab to find sign-up links. And with that, I'll turn it over to Commissioner Rubio to introduce today's session.
Thank you, Mayor, and good afternoon, everyone. Colleagues, I am pleased to introduce the Community and Economic Development Leadership Team. Director Oliveira, Director Rogers, Director Esau, and Executive Director Branham for the City of Portland. These leaders represent the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, which is the bureau that takes a leading role in defining the vision for our city, and also the Housing Bureau, Prosper Portland, and Bureau of Development Services, all of which carry out that vision. The result of their work creates the city we all call home, and I believe with these exceptional leaders before you and their capable staff that they represent, we are getting better at it. Their collective charge has never been easy, but in recent years, we have increasingly come to terms with how development hasn't always worked for all Portlanders, particularly low-income and Black, Indigenous, Latine, Asians, Pacific Islanders, and other communities of color. And we've learned from those lessons. Today, you will hear from them about the programs that are essential to their core work and how they work collaboratively to achieve their common vision, to ensure Portland is a prosperous, healthy, equitable, and resilient city where everyone has the opportunity and is also engaged in shaping decisions that affect their lives. In telling their story, they will use a recent example of how the bureaus work together to deliver development projects for Portlanders. And this project represents the kind of mixed-use development we need more of. Affordable homes with access to green spaces to enjoy and reduce heat island effects. Transit to reduce carbon emissions, and small businesses that provide various services and support for working families. It's these type of projects that can deliver increasing housing production, small business, and inclusive economic growth, a just transition to lower carbon economy, and building community resilience as well. You'll also hear the details about each bureau's investment in this council's stated priority areas. Collectively, the Community and Economic Development portfolio is investing more than $450 million to these priorities. And that's good news. So now the hard news. These bureau leaders and their teams are actively looking hard at how they maintain services with the prospect of declining revenues and growing challenges of the moment. Each one of these bureaus face significant revenue cliffs in fiscal year 24-25, either from expiring one-time funds, permit fee revenue declines in the case of recession, and spending down the housing bonds or declining TIF resources. Some of these programs we can confront and take proactive action, but I want to make some statements for the record regarding the prior budget note in the 22-23, from the 22-23 budget process related to the returning TIF funds. That budget note directed our budget office to set aside specific amounts for both the Housing Bureau and Prosper Portland, and I want to be clear in my support that this budget note is realized. And I appreciate the mayor's support in this as well. There are over 50 Prosper employees supported by TIF funds. And in the Housing Bureau, there are twice the number of employees supported by TIF funds than supported by bond funds. Bond funds are only a part of the housing solution. TIF and general fund must be a part of that solution. These employees and the community investments they carry out in this housing crisis certainly needs certainty that the budget note provides. Yes, we need to get through this current fiscal budget, but I look forward to having conversations as needed in the latter part of the year. So with that, I will turn it over to Director Donnie Oliveira from the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability to get us started.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Rubio. Good afternoon, Mayor, Commissioners. Eric, you want to get the deck teed up? My name is Donnie Oliveira. I'm the Director of Bureau of Planning and Sustainability, and I'm going to set the stage for this presentation. We'll go over the agenda as soon as our presentation's up. Oh, it is. Oh, I can't see it. Oh, I can't see it. All right. I can look behind my head. All right. So, Commissioners, as we go through this presentation today, we were going to set the stage with you by sort of talking about the shared goals and missions of this service area. As the community economic development sector, we are looking at things that are sort of the North Star plans of the city and thinking about how we're going to be spurring economic development, housing production, while looking out for things like our urban farm and climate justice. In particular, we're going to share a case study that kind of tells a story about how we do that work collectively together and how we've been doing that for a long time, even before this current assignment. And then we're going to dive into specific program area budgets and discuss some of the opportunities and challenges we'll be facing over the next fiscal year and through the course of the extension of our plans. Next slide, please. So the first place we're going to start is sort of highlighting that this sector, this service area group, is essentially the stewards of our city's North Star plans. First, we start with the comprehensive plan, which is essentially the land use and policy directive that kind of tells the story about how we're going to grow and change as a city. It talks about how we're going to design the form of our future. A comprehensive plan is a 20-year generational document. It provides long-term guidance for many of our bureaus, including all the groups here today. It's really a key document for the public works and infrastructure bureaus as well. It tells us how we're going to shape the future of our fine city. The vision statement for the current comprehensive plan is that Portland is a prosperous, healthy, equitable, and resilient city where everyone has access to opportunity and is engaged in shaping decisions that affect their lives. This statement ties together many of the distinct programs and projects in this portfolio. Climate change, housing, and economic development are addressed in the comprehensive plan at a high level, but there are also more specific work plans that are developed with a shorter time horizon. This past summer, we adopted the Climate Emergency Work Plan, and we'll have the housing needs analysis and the production strategy up next fiscal year, as well as the inclusive economic development strategy later next month. And at this point, I'm going to turn over to my colleague, Kimberly Branham.
All right, thanks, Donnie. So again, for the record, good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. For the record, I'm Kimberly Branham, Executive Director of Prosper Portland. I use she, her pronouns. And as Donnie mentioned, the comprehensive plan sets forth the 20-year growth management plan and directs action and policies that help Portland meet its need for quality, affordable homes and to help ensure equitable access to those homes, to expand economic opportunity and to improve economic equity for Portland's growing population through sustained business growth and improved air quality and watershed health while furthering opportunities to reduce carbon emissions. Next slide, please. So all of those are in line with the portfolio that we are here today. And so when we've considered collectively City Council's stated priorities as well as the comprehensive plan and the roles that each of us play, we collectively identified 4 key interrelated priorities for the next 18 months. which you'll see reflected in the 23-24 budget presentations as well as the actual documents. So the first and probably the top priority is increased housing production available for a range of incomes. The second is inclusive economic recovery and growth for our city's households, businesses, and commercial districts. The third is cutting climate pollution and building resilient communities in the face of our climate emergency. And the fourth is maintaining levels of service while experiencing the declining resources and increased demands that the commissioner mentioned. So we'll, as I mentioned, speak to these in the presentation. And with that, I'm turning it over to Molly for the case study.
Okay, next slide, please. Good afternoon, Commissioners, Mayor. My name is Molly Rogers. I'm the Interim Director of the Portland Housing Bureau. I'm thrilled to present to you today the Nick Fish. The Nick Fish from the client's perspective, which is a mixed income, mixed use community in the Gateway area. The Nick Fish embodies the creativity and resources that this cluster can bear to an area where gentrification and displacement were beginning to be felt. The Nick Fish opened in spring 2021 and was developed by Our Just Future, Gerding Edlin, Holst Architecture, and LMC Construction. It provides a mix of affordable and workforce housing, commercial space. It is adjacent to the Gateway Discovery Park and provides a vibrant, inclusive community where 75 families have the opportunity to thrive. It represents the culmination of our 4 bureaus working in alignment to fulfill our respective missions. All 4 bureaus played a critical role in creating a project like the Nick Fish. And in today's presentation, each of us will share our perspective of those roles in making this project and others like this a reality for Portlanders. Next slide. The portfolio of bureaus brings to City Council program offers that invest in Portland's place-making activities, addressing racial inequities and growing for the future. The investment reflects the city's community and economic development strategy, which aligns directly with all of the mayor's key priorities. It is important to note that some of our respective program offers include transfer of funds to each other or to other city bureaus through intergovernmental agreements. It is also important to note that the PHB budget does not include the portion of funds that is transferred to the Joint Office of Homeless Services. That is another $40 million in federal and local funds that is captured in our request budget, but is not shown here for apples-to-apples comparisons. And with that, Rebecca Issa.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Rebecca Issa, again, Director of the Bureau of Development Services. So the slide before you here shows where each bureau is dedicating resources related to the shared priority areas that have been identified. And as we walk through each of our respective bureau presentations, you'll hear more about how various programs and services in our bureaus are addressing these service areas and these priorities. Next, Director Oliveira will be doing a presentation on the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability's programs and budget.
Thanks, Rebecca. All right, so as a quick just acknowledgement, the Bureau of Planning and Sustainability takes action to shape the future of Portland and advance climate justice for a more equitable, healthy, prosperous, and resilient city. We do this through land use plans, implementing the climate work plan, grant making, managing, and shaping our waste collection systems, and through a robust community engagement and education. Next slide, please. So the brass tacks of our fiscal is that we have about $120 million in annual revenue. We have 4 primary sources of revenue, the largest which is the Portland Clean Energy Fund, but we also generate revenue through the Solid Waste Management Fund, and we're funded through general fund and intergovernmental agreements and grants. Specifically, the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission and Metro are the largest sources of our intergovernmental agreements. The chart on the right here shows actual expenses from fiscal years 2021 and 21-22, along with the current years requested. The increase from 21-22 into 22-23 is due to a couple factors. The first was the full-scale implementation of PSEF. That's when we realized the full potential of that revenue. But this was also a year we received a significant boost from ARPA resources. Also, the change in our structure was that we absorbed the former Office of Community Technology and the Graffiti Abatement Program. in total, that really reshaped the Bureau, maybe next slide, please, Eric, in terms of not just how we're funded, but how we function in our business operations. We're showing this slide to sort of give you a snapshot of the evolution of our Bureau. In essence, just 4 years ago, BPS was primarily a policy shop. We did our land use planning, we did climate planning, we set the stage for our waste utility. But since that time, we are a very large grant-making organization, and not just because of PSEF. With the inclusion of the Office of Community Technology, we provide grants through the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. In addition, along with the graffiti program, we have really scaled up our public trash program. So now we are essentially also a service provider for the livability of our city. So in essence, our Bureau has very much evolved, and with that, it's required us to update our business operations internally, going from just being policy to thinking about financial and accounting structures within the Bureau. Next slide, please. This is a snapshot of our revenues by program. The slide shows how the different flavors of revenue are distributed across the program areas. So, for example, you'll notice that our climate program is funded by multiple sources, including waste and general fund and intergovernmental agreements. So really, we started to see the overlap of these different program areas and ensure that the funding is reflective as such. The internal services program is to be acknowledged as well because it really provides a robust level of service, not just for BPS, but for other Bureau partners. We have a world-class GIS and data analysis group that works to support all bureaus in terms of data governance. We also support bureaus with convening and sort of coordination on the planning side as appropriate. And last but not least, our Smart Cities program has been working across the bureaus in the city to advance surveillance technology and such as the facial recognition policies that we passed last year. With the inclusion of the Office of Community and Technology, we again are expanding our reach to ensure that we are providing digital access and digital justice to our communities as through that program as well. We're really trying to leverage the different needs of these different program areas to ensure that we're consistent, but we're also not overly extractive of our community partners. I want to acknowledge a few notable investments. So along with the PSEF funds going out the door to community programs, this council adopted some code changes in the fall that will expand our ability to leverage the fund to invest with partnerships with such as Parks and the Housing Bureau. But along with that, we are looking at utilizing the fund to support staff and procurement to help us accelerate grant and contracts with Beco Taylor Shop. Next slide, please. So here's the snapshot of the Bureau Planning and Sustainability's program offers in alignment with the City Council's priority areas. You'll note in the Planning and Urban Design program offer, we really are touching on all of the key priority areas for this council. It's important to acknowledge that our planning group is a much smaller group than it was just 10 years ago, and yet we're carrying a lot of programming on behalf of the city as mandated by the state, as mandated by Metro and the federal government to ensure our city's meeting all of our regulatory mandates. With the climate and sustainability side, it's really captured in our PSEP program, Advancing Economic Vitality. This year alone, we're working on the Climate Investment Plan, which we intend to release to this council in the fall, which will set up about a $750 million 5-year plan to invest in climate justice and resiliency. And again, this will be in partnership with Parks and Housing and Bureau of Transportation to accelerate our climate justice goals. Waste and graffiti, along with the economic vitality component, I do think there's a livability aspect as well. Here, this is again how we serve our communities in terms of waste collections and graffiti removal in public and private spaces. I mentioned community technology and smart cities. Supporting community safety is a place that we've been working with data to ensure that our collection of data regarding community safety is made public and transparent. And then lastly, we acknowledge the Clean Energy Fund in terms of its role in economic vitality, but that because of the resiliency component, there's a livability piece in acknowledging a partnership with the Housing Bureau. We're addressing the housing partnership through ensuring energy efficiency upgrades are made available through 9 other projects in these coming years. All right, next slide, please. So these are just a few of the key accomplishments the Bureau's been up to in the last couple of years. So on the planning side, we came to council with the West Portland Town Center zoning project, which was essentially codifying 4,000 more housing units in Southwest Portland. This council adopted the environmental zone update, which again is an environmental regulatory opportunity for us to ensure that we are meeting our environmental natural resources goals. And residential infill continues to be monitored and tracked, but that was a really monumental middle housing policy that this council has adopted and has passed Part 2 this past year. And the most recent accomplishment, of course, is this council stood up the new Planning Commission, which had its first meeting 2 weeks ago. On the climate and sustainability side, the City Council adopted the Climate Emergency Work Plan last summer. We also codified the PSEF codes, and of course, the big move that we passed this fall was the renewable fuel standard, which was we're the first city in the country to phase out diesel at the pump. And then the last but not least, our community technology side just adopted the surveillance policy here at council. Thank you again for your leadership on that. And we continue to move money through ARPA, through our tech hits, and this is a digital justice opportunity where we're ensuring that our priority communities have access to software and technology that allows them to access basic services. And then ongoing work that's been on the digital justice and smart city side is really looking at how we're utilizing all the technology advancements for good and to ensure that we're reducing injustice in both in terms of how people have access to information, but also ensuring that data is protected when we do collect the information that we're gathering from our communities. Next slide, please. So going forward into the next fiscal year and what this budget really reflects, we have some pretty significant planning projects that council will be seeing later this year. First, the housing needs analysis and production strategy, which the Housing Bureau will talk about a little bit more, is really just a snapshot about where we're going when it comes to the city's housing needs. Housing's on everybody's mind right now, and we're hoping to provide a little insight into what that might look like in terms of opportunities. The other piece is the economic opportunities analysis, which is a state-mandated evaluation of how we're using our land for economic development. And then 2 zoning projects will be coming this year, RECAP, which is a reboot of a regulatory improvement program that BPS and BDS partner on to sort of clean up our code. And then we'll be coming to council later this year for the floodplain resilience program, which is a Title 33 and Title 24 update to our floodplain maps, which actually has a really significant impact on the ability of Portlanders to have access to FEMA floodplain insurance. On the climate and sustainability side, some of the big moves we'll be evaluating next year, but really diving into is on the PSEF side. Again, that climate investment plan is a pretty big deal. We'll be standing up a new climate commission later this year. And then on the sort of implementing the climate emergency work plan, we have launched the Clean Industry Initiative, which is working with the industrial sector to reduce some of those hardest emissions in our GHGs. And then we will be implementing some of the climate emergency work plan through grid and building transportation decarbonization, and that looks like reducing the emissions and the energy usage of our buildings and trying to get those fossil fuels out of our vehicles and fleets. And yesterday, you just greenlit us to evaluate the franchise review for the waste program for single-family homes. On the community technology side, we'll be bringing the right-of-way code later this year, and this is really a chance for us to true up how we're leveraging the third highest revenue fund for the general fund, which is the permitting of the right-of-way. The Mount Hood Regulatory Commission has a strategic plan that we're going to be updating. You've also heard about this from your different bureaus and staff that we have launched a citywide data governance program, and this is really looking at the way that the city is going to be capturing and managing data. I alluded to it, but our Smart Cities team has been working with the Community Safety Division on a community safety dashboard. And again, this is just the ability of us to tell the story about the data that we're collecting from our safety divisions. And then we just passed the surveillance policy, as I mentioned earlier, and really we're going to get that stood up next fiscal year as well. Next slide. At this point, I'll turn it over to Eric Engstrom.
Thanks, Donnie. For the record, Eric Engstrom, Deputy Director at BPS. I'm going to dive into our performance indicators and then talk a little bit more about our the different funds we manage and what some of the dynamics are with them. These are some of our These are some of our core performance indicators. for the three general areas of work that Donnie has already talked about. One of the challenges I just want to acknowledge is, we're a bureau that does a lot of work with, we legislate, we plan, we regulate, we invest, we give out grants, we do a lot of inter-bureau coordination. So a lot of our measures are out 20 years and 30 years into the future. And so we continue to work with the CBO to round off that with more direct measures of our year-to-year work, because we know that you want to see that too. But just want to acknowledge that that's always been a challenge due to the nature of our work, that sometimes our measures are a little bit off in the distance. I want to dive a little deeper and unpack, in particular, the housing indicators a little bit. One of our core responsibilities in the planning group is to manage the supply of land available to housing and economic growth, and this is part of our growth management role. The comprehensive plan and zoning regulate land use, and as a result, they have an impact on where we can grow. We need to periodically examine our zoning map and our comprehensive plan to make sure that we have enough land for our 20-year economic needs and housing needs. This chart is from our current analysis, which it outlines how many households we expect to see within each income bracket, both today and what we expect to see in terms of growth by 2045, which is our current planning horizon. By 2045, we expect to need another 42,800 homes that meet the needs of those less than 80% MFI. So that's one of the drivers of the housing issues we're facing, and the Housing Bureau will go into details more about that. The orange there is showing the growth again, and the blue
Eric,
is showing
I
the
apologize. People online cannot hear you. Can you move your mic? You're saying important stuff.
Thank you. All right. Unpacking this a little bit further, this slide shows our overall housing production compared to the forecast that we did last time we did this analysis, back in 2010. In 2010, forecast prepared by Metro and then validated by Portland estimated around 123,000 new households would be needed by 2035, which was then the planning horizon. And we're about halfway through that planning period right now. And so far, we've produced around almost 60,000 housing units over that 12-year period, which is almost on track for the forecast. So, the obvious question to ask in this slide is, so why do we have a housing crisis? We have been producing housing. There's a lot of reasons for that. Remember, this is a growth-related need. So if we go back to the last slide, we saw that a significant share of our existing households are cost-burdened already. And so when we're talking about affordable housing need, it's not just growth, it's existing cost-burdened households that we're dealing with. These are also aggregate numbers, so while the overall number can look good, underneath there we need to look at the different types of housing that we're producing, and one of the problems is that we're doing a good job producing at the higher end of the income brackets, but not at the lower end, and in particular, what we call the middle housing, which is why we've been doing the residential infill project and why we adopted all of those changes, is that we've still been underproducing that and up through that period of time. We're also underproducing family-sized units, and given that we're the central city in a large region, it's difficult for us to produce a large number of single-family homes, so a lot of the displacement risk is most heavily on that form of housing, which we have less ability to produce new of just because of the land need. Remember also that housing is a regional market, and we're not the only producer in the region, and up until the last few years, some of our suburban jurisdictions have not been meeting their projections. So overall, the region remains in a deficit relative to what we forecast we would need when we did this 10 years ago. This just shows you an example of that, looking in particular at middle housing production. And as I said, we've been underproducing what we thought we needed up until the adoption of the residential infill project, which I'm happy to say has bent that curve a little bit upward. So we're still monitoring the impact of that, but we can see it at least in the first 2 years that production has increased of that housing type. So shifting gears into the climate a little bit. Of course, this is one of our other primary indicators. Our goal is to reduce emissions relative to 1990 levels with the long-term goal of being net zero by 2050. In the earlier slide, I mentioned that we were 45% below 1990 levels right now, but that was a per capita number. this graph is looking at the overall number, and so right with that number, we're less than 20% below 1990 and have a long way to go to get to that 50%. Over the last few years, most of our progress, frankly, has been made due to the shrinking economy and the recession. So the real test going forward is that how do we grow the economy back out of the recession without simultaneously regrowing the carbon footprint that we had with that. Okay, I'm going to shift gears now to talk about some of the funds we manage. Obviously, over the last few years, PSEF has grown to be BPS's largest revenue source. And as you know, PSEF's revenue has exceeded our initial projections over the past few years. Initially, it was estimated in the $40 to $60 million range a year, and it's producing closer to 100 or more. Oops, sorry. Last year was the first year where the program was really taken to scale with RFP number 3. The first 2 RFPs were smaller and really were getting the kinks out of the system and getting the process worked out. Based on that higher expected revenue in the first few years of program experience, last fall, Council made some significant adjustments to how the program works. And so we're working to roll out that new approach this year. The largest change was to shift from an entirely based on annual community grant solicitations to a system where there's a 5-year climate investment plan, which would identify specific target programs that will move forward in parallel with continued rounds of community grants. This also partly responds to auditors' recommendations and helps us establish a more direct line of accountability to our climate work plan. The other change is to move from relying on community-based organization grants to also allowing for other entities to implement these projects, including potentially the private sector or government. The first 2 examples of this more targeted way of bundling our investments has already been rolling out, which Donnie mentioned earlier. Over 5 years, we intend to invest tree canopy in $40 million in tree canopy and up to $60 million in affordable housing energy performance. Portland Parks and Housing Bureau are receiving funds to support those 2 initiatives, which are in progress now. Our budget submittal also includes a request to add administrative staff to the PSEF program to manage this new approach and scale up our investments. And that budget request is, of course, using PSEF funds. We're also adding resources to OMF for procurement to help us get contracts out faster. Because PSEF has been in its startup phase, the fund balance has been growing, and this graph just shows our intent in terms of rolling out these larger investments over the next few years that will bring that balance down, and we'll reach a point probably by 2028 where our expenditures and balance are roughly in sync. Moving on to the Solid Waste Fund, this includes resources collected from our residential franchise system, commercial waste tonnage fees. Those funds will support our waste and recycling systems, our sustainable consumption work, and part of our climate work, as Donnie mentioned. The fund also supports the impact reduction program at about $1 million annually. And it's, by the way, it's fairly common for cities to bundle their waste and recycling with their sustainability work. There's a lot of overlap there, and we can see a lot of work to do still in modernizing our recycling system in the coming years to contribute more to our climate goals. In recent years, the biggest change impacting this fund has been the rollout of the larger public trash can program. Initially, that program was funded by primarily commercial waste fees, and we'll need to continue a discussion of that funding model in future years. And as Donnie mentioned, 2 things in the next few months are before you related to this. Yesterday, you kicked off the process of reviewing the residential franchise system, and in May, we'll be bringing you the annual rate review ordinance for the waste system. There is upward pressure on costs in that regard, and that's a topic that we'll discuss in that setting. Thirdly, with the incorporation of the former OCT into BPS, we now manage the collection of franchise utility revenue. This is revenue collected from private utilities that are using the public right-of-way to do their business, and this is a significant source of revenue for the city. Cable TV providers are subject to a slightly different set of governing laws, and the cities in Multnomah County collaborate together to use the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission to jointly oversee those franchises. Those cities essentially contract with Portland to support that commission. I want to say, from a budget perspective, a couple things about this. One is we'll be bringing a update to the right-of-way utility franchise code in May, likely May, which provides a more consistent set of rules and moving us from individually negotiated franchises to a license and code-based approach. So you'll be hearing more about that soon. On the cable side, over time, fewer people are getting their TV from the traditional cable providers. And so that model need to be looked at in the future. We are embarking on a strategic planning process with the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission to talk about that in 2023. And notably, the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission is the funder for both Open Signal and Metro East community broadcasters. And in the coming years, we're going to need to think strategically with them about, and our other partner jurisdictions, about how we fund those important institutions going forward. And I want to just briefly talk about Open Signal. They're an essential service provider, obviously, in the community. Not only do they provide a critical role in transparent government decision-making by broadcasting these meetings, but they also work on providing workforce development and media training in their facilities with an emphasis on Black, Indigenous, and people of color, English language learners, and people living with disabilities and low-income folks. As part of the Open Signal grant agreement going forward, it has become apparent that additional funding support is likely going to be necessary in order to maintain those services at their current level, with increased cost related to hybrid meetings, charter reform, and just basic inflation and wages. At minimum, we see potentially up to $500,000 of shortfall there going forward, and that doesn't include the changes that may be necessary with charter reform. So that's something we're going to have to grapple with in future budgets. Finally, I want to also mention that BPS has received significant one-time resources, as Donnie said, in 22-23, including ARPA and general fund one-time. The ones in blue are those that are that include some level of ongoing function. Many of our projects are one-time, truly one-time projects, but there are a few that are ongoing in nature. And I want to highlight two. One is the zoning code improvement package process, or RECAP, that Donnie referred to, is funding the restoration of that program, which is an important way of keeping our codes responsive to changing circumstances. That program essentially is still riding on one-time money. And then graffiti abatement, which was moved from Civic Life to BPS last year, is currently operating in part on one-time resources. And in order to deliver the elevated level of service that council's been requested, we may have to look at that again. The one-time resources we have now will get us through 2024, but beyond that, service levels could be impacted. These are some of the challenges we're facing this year. Many of these are not unique to BPS, other than potentially the PSEF program bringing it to scale. And finally, I want to mention just our role in the Nick Fish project. The journey to build that project really starts a couple decades ago with growth management plans designating Gateway as a significant civic center and center of significant growth and density. That was memorialized in both the 1980 and 2015 comp plans. We did some significant rezoning in Gateway in the 1990s, which really allows for buildings of that scale to be in that area. We're, of course, the custodian of ongoing codes and development standards that govern how those buildings get built. And then we're also the custodian of the green building policy, which in this case applies because public funds were used. Thank you for that. And I think at this point, I'm passing the baton over to the Portland Housing Bureau.
Right. Thank you, Eric. Leslie and I are here to discuss the work of the Portland Housing Bureau and what our partners do to provide secure and stable housing for all Portlanders. But just to ground us, yesterday you did hear PHB's presentation on the State of Housing report. The findings showed a significant need for increasing our housing supply across the board, and particularly our affordable housing production. And while none of this is new, as we've been dealing with these dire issues for a while now, what you will see in our presentation today is that we have responded to these challenges with robust, unprecedented affordable housing investments throughout this time, thanks in large part to our TIF resources, as well as to the 2 voter-approved affordable housing bonds. You will also see that Portland Housing Bureau has kept its operations small and scrappy, maintaining approximately the same level of FTEs, even as we continue to expand our business lines and programming through the implementation of 2 housing bonds, as well as deploying tens of millions of dollars of COVID relief resources into the community. Next slide. The Housing Bureau's mission is to solve the unmet housing needs of the people of Portland, which we address via 4 key program and policy areas to be discussed in a minute. Our revenue currently comes from a variety of sources, most notably the Portland and Metro housing bonds, tax increment financing, the city's housing investment fund, construction excise tax, general fund dollars, our properties, and general grants. We have a staff of 82 full-time employees and expenses of $265.4 million. Next slide. Next slide, thank you. This slide captures the core functional areas of the Housing Bureau. Our programs, policies, and subsidies support the production and preservation of affordable rental housing, the creation of new homeownership opportunities and home retention programs, the prevention of displacement of Portland households, and efforts to prevent and end homelessness by supporting the work of the Joint Office of Homeless Services. Next slide. Thank you. We provide housing for Portlanders who are not being served by the local housing market. One of the primary ways we do that is through the financing of development and preservation of affordable housing. So what this means is that all of our work is focused on meeting the needs of families who earn less than the area median income. The area median income for a family of 4 right now is $106,500. Households below this income level are disproportionately Black, Indigenous, Latinx, and other people of color, and households are more likely to have a family member with a disability. So all of our capital funding, which makes up the vast majority of our budget, goes for rental housing development and is dedicated to households who earn 60% of the area median income or below. And sometimes we do scale the affordability downwards as much as we possibly can. Further, they are regulated to remain affordable at these targeted income levels for 99 years. We reserve our precious rental development dollars to create housing at incomes where there is the greatest need. For example, it could be a senior who's on a fixed income and who can only afford a maximum rent of $559 a month, or someone who is experiencing homelessness and has no income at all. It could be a customer service representative supporting a family of 4 who can only afford a maximum of $1,545, whereas the average 2-bedroom apartment in Portland these days is $1,900 a month, and the average 3-bedroom right now is over $2,100 a month. Additionally, through programs like inclusionary housing, we are able to provide housing households earning between 60% and 80% of the area median income. These income-restricted units provide housing for, say, a couple making a minimum wage job. Next slide. This graph in the slide illustrates the need for more affordable housing, especially for our lowest income residents. Portland currently has an estimated 25,000 renters who are low income and extremely cost burdened. So what this means is that they are paying more than 50% of their income towards housing costs. These households are vulnerable to losing their home with just one small change in their family situation. And just to note, this is not the same as the forecasted need of housing and affordable housing accounting for demographic and population trends, as Eric previously noted, and these will be further evaluated with our upcoming housing needs analysis. Next slide. You all saw this slide yesterday, so I won't go too in depth on it, but just wanted to highlight a few more things for you all. I'd like to point out that while the average white household's income in Portland is nearly $80,000 per year, it is less than half of that for the average black household. And as a result, 70% of black households in Portland are renters. And while we are the 26th most populous city in the country, we are tied for 5th as the city with the largest income disparities between white and black households, and 4th for the disparities in homeownership rates for black and white households. So to ensure that our programs and resources are actively working towards racial equity and housing opportunity, it requires us to tailor our programs and resources, and we do rely heavily on our culturally specific partners in these efforts to do so. Next slide. PHB is pleased that the city has exceeded all of its Portland Housing Bond commitments in terms of the total number of units produced, those serving extremely low-income residents below 30% of area median income, those serving the homeless or formerly homeless in permanent supportive housing, and for Portland families. All Portland Housing Bond resources have been committed into 15 projects, and most importantly, are forecasted to provide homes for over 3,800 Portlanders. Similarly, the city is well on our way to exceeding all the Metro bond obligations based on the number of units produced, under construction, and in our development pipeline. The city has exceeded all metrics established by Metro, with one exception. We're just 30 units shy of our 30% AMI goal, but it will be met with the remaining Metro Bond Fund dollars. Next slide. Now I'm passing off to Leslie.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. I'm Leslie Goodlow, and I'm going to talk about some numbers and our KPIs. The left graph shows the requested 24 annual budget by funding source. As you can see, the top three are Metro Bond, Portland Housing Bond, and tax increment financing. They are the majority of our budget currently. The right chart shows the last 3 years' budget and the FY24 requested. The reduction between the last 3 years is due to TIF approaching maximum indebtedness and the depletion of one-time COVID federal resources. Additionally, as projects move through the development process, as we budget and they don't spend money, we have to carry the money over, and so it's a shifting within our budget each year. Next slide. This chart shows where a majority of our funds are budgeted. Over 81% of our budget is in the multifamily housing. Multifamily development is funded by $82 million from the Metro Bond, $64 million from the Portland Bond, and $70 million from TIF and federal grants. The program offers included in the multifamily housing are our Metro Go Bond, multifamily rental projects financing, Portland Go Bond, multifamily rental housing project financing, multifamily affordable rental project financing, and housing development support. Next slide. The blue and orange graph represents our regular staff. As Molly mentioned, we are a small but mighty team. The orange represents limited duration positions that we have been able to fund over the course of the last 5 years. Our staffing costs represent 5.3% or $14 million of the total requested budget of $265.4 million. The Housing Bureau's budget continues to serve low-income Portlanders through the direct services provided by subrecipients and other units of local government. Our subrecipient contracts, intergovernmental agreements, and service contracts for rental assistance all fulfill needs of the community and rely on networks of nonprofits and social services to provide for those needs. To provide services where they are most needed and to track results, we rely on data analysis. We have a highly skilled data team and provide them with the software tools that they need, with technology contracts, and all of our staff can benefit from our contracts with professional consultants to assist us on equity initiatives, graphic design, affordable housing research, facilitation, and training. We promote both development of and access to affordable housing with a variety of loan products, many of which are forgivable over time. Our finance and accounting team manages our loan portfolio and applies any loan payments from borrowers to our ongoing programs to serve our communities. For every unit provided at any level of affordability below market, our risk and compliance team monitors that it's being used appropriately. We have more than 16,000 units requiring ongoing regulatory compliance monitoring. Next slide. Thank you. As you can see, most of our program offers fall under the homelessness and housing priority area. We have two that fall under economic vitality, that's affordable homeownership, and our IGA with Prosper for economic opportunities. Next slide. The Housing Bureau is making progress with unprecedented affordable housing production since the city declared a housing emergency in 2015. In that period, PHB has opened and preserved over 4,300 units of affordable housing, providing homes to an estimated 8,720 low-income Portlanders. The Bureau has over 3,400 additional units in the pipeline, which will house another 6,300 people in the coming years. 852 newly affordable units were opened in 2022. 63% of projects were located in high opportunity areas with access to transportation, family wage jobs via transit, childhood education, employment density, and healthy eating. And we have projected 745 units to open in 2023. The Bureau is meeting its goal of 30% of construction costs going to DMWESB certified firms. Last year, 1,787 households received homebuyer education and counseling services, with 10% of those households receiving these services purchasing a home. Of the 25 households receiving direct Housing Bureau homebuyer subsidies, such as down payment assistance loans, 95% identified as Black, Indigenous, and other people of color households. 545 households received home repair services, and 85% of households receiving critical home repairs were able to continue living in their homes a year or more after receiving those services. Next slide. Last year, the Rental Services Office provided 11,385 people with landlord-tenant education, information, or referral services. Over 800 households were provided legal services for housing access or stabilization. The COVID Rent Assistance Program entered its fourth phase of funding this year, with the program in operation since the summer of 2020. Portland's local rent assistance program has assisted over 26,000 households with nearly $115.3 million in financial assistance. Rent assistance is provided through referrals to our local housing authority, Home Forward, from a network of service providers with experience in providing culturally specific services to BIPOC communities. Take it over, Molly.
Okay. So the 5-year financial plan for PHB is facing a reduction in revenue with an increase in costs to build housing and the cost to keep people in their housing. And so there are a number of risks we do need to mitigate here. The first really is the financial sustainability for the Bureau's core programs and operations. In the background, as we've already mentioned, is a depletion of PHB's major revenue sources: the Portland bond, the Metro bond, and sunsetting TIF districts. If these resources expire without replacement, we will no longer have the capacity to meet our city's greatest housing needs. TIF funds also support our homeownership efforts. It's a powerful tool that can have a transformative and generational impact on BIPOC households. The second is the market forces outside our control. It's making it more costly to build housing. Rising interest rates, construction costs, and inflation are causing additional funding gaps for our projects in the pipeline. And this is happening at the same time as our state's largest revenue source for affordable housing financing, which are private activity bonds, have become oversubscribed and have slowed the timelines of projects across the state. Next slide. This left chart reflects the reduction. This looks at our expiring and our one-time resources together. We have a reduction after ARPA funds, our ERAP, which is our Emergency Rent Assistance Program, and TIF, which is due to the one-time COVID federal resources being spent down. And TIF is approaching then the total amount of dollars that can be spent on projects throughout the life of the TIF district. In other words, no more funding will be available from TIF. The bond, at the same time, the bond administration funds will be approximately spent down in fiscal year 24-25. That's just in one more fiscal year from now. So when we combine the FTEs of those supported by TIF and by our staff supported by bonds, this total number represents around 44% of the total Bureau. So we find ourselves at a critical juncture, not only as a Bureau, but as a city. And this is why returning TIF resources back to Prosper Portland and the Housing Bureau will help us complete the projects that we have in our pipeline that we have currently underway. And we hope that we can have a conversation under Commissioner Rubio's leadership to talk about the potential future of a new bond renewal or bond measure. Next slide. So we anticipate various challenges in the work in our future, but chief among them being the affordable housing shortage in the Portland area. And this is exacerbated by market pressures, with eviction rates increasing to levels higher than before the pandemic. Rent assistance resources are close to depletion, and the state rental cap for 2023 allows for rents to increase by up to 14.6%. Meanwhile, rising inflation and interest rates are making home buying less attainable for BIPOC households, which keeps them stably housed and lacking the financial advantages of homeownership. And within the portfolio of regulated affordable housing, hundreds of units occupied by thousands of Portlanders are nearing the expiration of their affordability agreements, such as the multi-tax abatement program, which increases the need and urgency for affordable housing preservation. That said, not quite there yet, Eric. Back one. That said, we have shown that together with our partners, we can deliver for the people of Portland. We're housing roughly 15,000 Portlanders during the housing emergency with safe, stable housing that they can afford. And while we realize this isn't enough to meet the needs, we know it's important that we don't lose ground now. Okay, now finally, PHB's role in the NICFISH. This was a mixed-use, mixed-income project near Discovery Park. We created a blend of housing. We could not have done this more complicated, frankly, with 52 affordable units, whereas 30 and 40, some of which are restricted at 30% AMI and 60%. And they were spread across studios, 1-bedrooms, and 2-bedrooms. The innovative checkerboard mix of incomes meant that a very low-income household would be right next door and indistinguishable to market rate and workforce homes. In all newly created affordable units, they carry a 99-year regulatory agreement, ensuring that generations of low-income households can benefit from this investment and from this community. And with that, take it over, Kimberly.
Yeah, if it's, so you want to continue, or should we take a 10-minute break right here? What's the council's preference?
Let's keep going.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, Molly. All right, so I am joined by Robert Smith, who's going to co-present with me from afar, and by Tony Barnes, our finance manager, as well as folks who are online in case folks have, the council has any questions. So what you're going to hear today is that of the 4 priorities that we talked about at the beginning, that economic vitality, inclusion, recovery, and growth are critical to our priorities in the coming year at Prosper Portland. And you're going to hear us talk a little bit about the adoption and implementation of the upcoming Inclusive Economic Development Strategy, which will set a plan for the next 5 years for the city of Portland, as well as maintaining level of service in the face of declining TIF resources that Molly just talked about, and so implementing our updated financial sustainability plan, which we will also get into. So I'm going to talk most about the Inclusive Economic Development Strategy and the financial sustainability plan as our key kind of guiding policy documents, and then Robert is going to really dig into our key performance metrics and our key areas of delivery. I do want to note just that we will be coming back to City Council in early May when you will sit as Prosper Portland's Budget Advisory Committee officially. And in that context, we'll really dig into our tax increment finance district budgets. And so we'll have an opportunity to talk in more depth at that point as well. And so today we're going to speak more specifically to our general fund, cannabis-supported ARPA, CDBG, and other non-TIF resources. All right, next slide, please. So as the City of Portland's Economic and Urban Development Agency, our mission is to create economic growth and opportunity. We do this through business development and technical assistance, workforce development programs, and grants for community economic development with a host of partners across the city. We deploy grants like the Small Business Repair Grant and Small Business Relief Funds and Prosperity Investment Program grants, and we invest resources that are small scale and larger scale in mixed income, mixed use, and commercial developments like the Nick Fish Broadway corridor and to improve storefronts along our main streets. Portland boasts enormous economic assets. We have a highly educated workforce. We have globally competitive industry clusters. We have dynamic entrepreneurs. But as we all recognize, we are facing significant challenges and headwinds in terms of our economic recovery as we continue to face the long tail of the pandemic that both accelerated and exacerbated pre-existing trends. So while our region is growing, what we know is that the city's economic productivity growth rate and our median household income lags the region and it lags peer markets. This contributes to the affordability crisis that Molly was just talking about and results in a much greater share of cost-burdened households than peer cities. Next slide, please. So the data within the next two slides come from the analysis that we're undertaking to develop that inclusive economic development strategy that I mentioned, which we will be bringing back to you for consideration later in April. In this graph, what you see is the incomes of employees who are working in the city of Portland in 2011 in blue, and then in 2021 in gold. So we've divided them into income quintiles. The number of workers in the highest income quintile almost doubled and grew 14 times faster than our middle income jobs. At the same time, lower quintiles decreased with significant losses of service and tourism-related jobs during the pandemic, while middle wage employment largely stagnated. So this dynamic really speaks to what's happening where you have higher growth and higher income employment opportunities, stagnation in those middle opportunities, and fewer opportunities and lower incomes. And in some ways, this is a positive. We want to see the growth of high-paying jobs. The problem is most of those jobs are also highly barriered, requiring a bachelor's degree or other things that make it more challenging. And so in the next slide, what you'll see is the disproportionate representation. If you look again at the five income quintiles, of people who live in the city of Portland, what you notice is that people of color are significantly underrepresented in the top two quintiles and significantly overrepresented in those bottom two quintiles, with almost half of the people making less than $38,000 a year identifying as Black, Indigenous, or people of color. And so oftentimes, the Housing Bureau and Prosper, we think of ourselves as sister agencies, and we're sort of two sides of the same coin, which is if you don't have enough income or there isn't enough prosperity and job access, then you have to continue to find more ways to subsidize and support on the affordable housing side. So we really need both solutions, and we work closely and in tandem in order to find ways to have a comprehensive solution, both in a place-based sense and then through business development and other interventions. Next slide, please. Oh, wow, it's automated, I forgot. Okay. So the Inclusive Economic Development Strategy envisions a prosperous, vibrant, healthy place for all of our residents and our businesses and is grounded in 4 mutually reinforcing values of furthering racial equity and inclusion, not only as a moral imperative, but actually as a core driver of growth. When more people are connected to opportunities, they are contributing to our economic competitiveness. By advancing climate action, sorry, you can just keep going, rolling through it. Advancing climate action through preparing Portland's diverse workforce and businesses to engage in and to lead in emerging clean industries. By building effective institutions and partnerships where you have diverse civic and business organizations coalescing around inclusive economic growth and collaborating to co-develop and co-implement initiatives. I will say that this was a finding for our consultants when they benchmarked us against other municipalities, that this was really an area that we could lean into, is how can we be collaborative across sectors. And finally, embracing and managing growth. And it's always funny to have growth as a value when you're talking about an inclusive economic development strategy, because it seems so obvious. But in fact, it's very controversial, we know. And so we really want to call for and lean into both embracing, but then also managing growth well. So this means that we collectively acknowledge that we can't reach our other objectives without growth, and we need to target and manage growth deliberately. And that happens in partnership with Bureau of Planning and Sustainability as well. So the strategy therefore seeks to promote inclusive economic growth through 4 objectives noted here. So you'll see the first is propelling inclusive economic growth and innovation through the growth of our traded sector industry clusters in which we have competitive advantage through things like business development activities, innovative partnerships, and also by identifying those barriers to growth and addressing them. The second is promoting equitable wealth creation by supporting diverse entrepreneurs and within real estate to grow strong businesses and development organizations through technical assistance and financial resources, stronger networks. And we think that there are opportunities with the transformation that will take place as we prepare for the implementation of the new form of government to really think about how we are supporting small businesses' success in that process. The third is fostering commercial districts vibrant commercial districts with tailored strategies for the sub-districts of our central city as well as across our main streets. So that depends on what's happening within a district, but we know that increasing and having a balanced mix of uses within our central city makes the sub-districts more resilient. So we'll be focused on that in those places that have imbalances of uses, but also things like the events office and really thinking about how do you create vibrancy both in the long term as well in the short term. And then finally, through connecting Portlanders to those high-quality jobs in future-ready sectors through industry-based job training and increased access to quality jobs. Of course, we have the ongoing partnership with Work Systems, but there are also opportunities for us to convene and engage with university partners who have expressed a lot of enthusiasm for understanding how they can really get their students and more connected with our employers, and that's mutually beneficial. But also thinking about how do we increase access, physical access between people who need employment and jobs by increasing transit, by helping to encourage folks to grow and expand in East Portland, or by making sure that we have access and continue to have a thriving central city, which has been the historic and continues to be a historic center of employment. Next slide, please. So our fiscal year 23-24 budget reflects $313 million in new and existing resources, of which 60% comes from TIF, 34% comes from the repayment of loans and other earned income from prior investments. We refer to this as program income. And 6% comes from the City General Fund, cannabis, ARPA, CDBG, and other revenue. Our total expenditures for fiscal year 23-24 are $131 million. But of that, what you see in the dark green is that $48 million are funds that are transferred to the Housing Bureau via the in alignment with the housing set-aside policy. So our core program of $68 million is focused on inclusive property development through commercial lending, property investment grants, major projects and asset management, economic development programs that you're going to hear about in more detail, as well as our business lending infrastructure, and modest investments in infrastructure. And next year, we're anticipating just investing in transportation improvements in the North Macadam Tax Increment Finance District. This is all supported by about $16 million in administration and personnel cost. We ended last fiscal year with 87 funded positions. That's increased to 94 this year as the result of new limited term positions funded by time-bound funds, The proposed budget anticipates 92 next year based on both ongoing and remaining one-time funds. Next slide, please. When we look ahead at the 5-year forecast of $554 million, it shows an increased general fund from the anticipated dedication of Boomerang starting in 24-25. The budget is otherwise conservative. It doesn't include some additional resources that we are assuming we will be able to generate as part of the financial sustainability plan. But if we learned anything in the pandemic, it was to budget conservatively, and so we are putting that learning into practice. Next slide, please. Okay, so this gets into our business lines. So from left to right, what you see here is the business lines and then what is within that and how many staff we have that are dedicated to that function. So again, Robert's going to speak in detail about the left-hand side of the chart, and we'll come back to talk a little bit more about the right-hand chart. But it includes the inclusive business development efforts that we have. It includes our small business programs and workforce development, as well as our neighborhood prosperity initiative districts within our economic development department. And then on the right-hand side, you have our development and investment department, which focuses on financing and grants to increase access to capital, acquisition, disposition, and infrastructure investments towards equitable development, and affordable commercial tenanting and property management to support small business leasing and asset management. I want to note, for example, the ongoing partnership that we have with Portland Bureau of Transportation at 10Y, right here, in which we've been able to activate the ground floor of the parking garage and to have a fabulous mix of tenants who are able to go in slightly below market rate or much below market rate. And so that's just an example of how we have piloted and are continuing to expand our affordable commercial program. All right, next slide, please. So taking a look at those business lines and the revenue that are allocated to them, this is actually a backward-looking 3-year average funding, and it shows you what is supported by TIF and that program income and what is supported by non-TIF resources. So you see that on the left, our economic development programs are largely supported by non-TIF resources, so general fund, cannabis funds, community development block grant dollars, ARPA, et cetera, while those on the right are primarily funded through tax increment finance and program income, but every business line is impacted by TIF and program income, and so in order to maintain level of service across, just from an operational standpoint, the Boomerang and our financial sustainability plan will be really important. Next slide, please. Okay, so when we've known about the TIF cliff for a number of years, and in 2018 we adopted a financial sustainability plan to ensure that we could maintain annual operating budget of approximately $30 million. In the first 2 years, we've made significant progress and increased our net operating income by $5.5 million. We launched new loan programs, and we had a strong pipeline of projects with expected returns. But then came 2020, and many of our financial sustainability plan projections diminished with immediate financial loss and delayed or reduced revenue from anticipated projects. So as a result, we've updated our financial sustainability plan model and business plan, and have found that we can still maintain levels of service if we take a 4-pronged approach, which you see on this slide. The first is leveraging community-based TIF district investments to deliver both on community-identified priorities and to secure financial return from a portion of that, for an average return of 2% across all of those investments. The second is to optimize both public benefits and financial return of non-TIF restricted resources, that program income, through a new strategic investment fund with an average return of about 7% per year. That will enable us to capitalize a fund, for example, to do working capital, which is probably the topmost thing that we are asked to fund. We have not historically had significant resources to provide working capital, and so we are excited about this opportunity both to support community needs and to have revolving resources that can meet those dual objectives. The third is just to continue to research and seek new funding sources. So we've engaged the number of consultants to advise us and to make sure that there are no rocks that we are not looking under, to ensure that and to pursue federal funds as appropriate. And then the third is to secure additional public resources through that allocation of boomerang or returning TIF and the creation of new TIF districts. The next slide, please. So currently we have 92 positions funded in fiscal year 23-24 requested budget. This includes about 11 limited term positions that are tied to one-time funding in certain projects. Our financial sustainability plan includes 80 full-time or FTE positions as those limited term positions expire. So this graph compares what would happen if we're successful in delivering on the financial sustainability plan versus a worst case scenario. So without implementation of the strategic investment plan and related revenue or the boomerang or new TIF district, we would be at a size of about 30 people by the end of the 5-year forecast. Next slide, please. So we think that this is a viable and achievable plan, and we show here what it would look like over that 5-year forecast to be able to maintain our current operating budget of about $35 million a year. So the financial sustainability plans solves the difference with the revenue mix that you see here, anchored by the boomerang resources in the near term, but that eventually counts for about a third of the funding and to support overall operating budget in later years when we have income from assets and new TIF that can support operations. So with that overview, I'm going to hand it to my colleague, Robert.
Thanks, Kimberly. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler, Commissioners. For the record, my name is Robert Smith, use he, him pronouns, and I manage the Entrepreneurship and Community Economic Development team. Today I'm going to provide an overview and outline of our core programming, expected kind of funding levels, also looking at how one-time resources have augmented or created new opportunities to promote economic vitality, provide an overview of what the impacts of that one-time funding going forward will be to programming, and an overview of the programs themselves, who they serve, going forward. So what we have here is an outline of the economic vitality work that we sponsor and support. And so looking at the Neighborhood Prosperity Network, Workforce Development, Business Advancement Team, and Inclusive Entrepreneurship as part of our core programming. With one-time resources, we've been able to launch an Office of Events and Film, as well as be responsive to one-time needs and we've been able to be responsive to one-time needs in the form of projects and other business supports across the city. Next slide, please. This slide here outlines the expiring one-time resources. For fiscal year 22-23, we're looking at $21 million in one-time funding that covers between 1 and 3 years of work, with $11 million of that from general fund, $10 million of that being American Rescue Plan Act dollars. Of this amount, $14 million went to the small business and community redevelopment support, 1.8 to small business stabilization, $1 million to the Office of Events and Film. Last year, we had a one-time ask to support program levels within the Neighborhood Prosperity Network, and then continued support of Workforce and Venture Portland, which oversees support to business districts throughout the city. This coming year, we are anticipating an additional $7.5 in one-time funding that will be expiring to support small business and community redevelopment, with $3.8 million broken down with the repair grants, the design and renovation of the Fairfield property, and small business stabilization efforts. Next slide, please. So with our inclusive entrepreneurship programming, this is the programming that we do in partnership with organizations throughout the city. Our Inclusive Business Resource Network is funded at a level of about $4 million, supports 20-plus organizations throughout the city to provide business technical assistance, coaching, advising, and then included in this is the Mercatus Directory, which is our online directory that is a storytelling platform and highlights and features businesses of color. The Inclusive Business Resource Network historically has served 1,100 businesses, with 75% being businesses of color, and the Mercatus Directory enrollment right now is up over 1,300 businesses. With the expiration of the one-time funding that we have available, we're looking at potential impacts of the additional supports that are part of that programming, and looking at the a la carte services, which we received an elevated level of funding last year through a one-time ask, and that provides access to professional services and is able to support 175 businesses. We were also able to fill a need that exists in accessing capital by providing a capital access advisor who's going to be able to provide coaching, credit readiness for around 25 businesses. And then additionally, with the one-time cannabis funds, we're able to provide digital marketing services to businesses that are part of the Mercatus program. This is a service that has every year exceeded the amount that we were waitlisted, and we provide kind of coaching and grant support to businesses that are looking to expand their digital presence and online awareness and their overall digital footprint. And even at the elevated level, we're in a situation that without the replenishment of these funds, then this is not a service that we'll be able to provide going forward. Next slide. The community and workforce development slide, we're looking at the Neighborhood Prosperity Network, which is our place-based community-led economic development programming. This is work that receives $870,000 in an ongoing general fund. And last year, these districts are micro TIF districts, and so there was an agreement between the city of Portland and Multnomah County to be able to provide their share of revenue back to bolster programming. And right now, there are 2 districts that are left within the 7 that receive a revenue share, and we had the one-time ask to last year for general fund to maintain those program levels. And so without those funds going forward, we're seeing a reduced capacity, reduced ability to be able to connect with businesses and property owners throughout the city in the 7 NPN districts, which is St. John Center for Opportunity, our 42nd Avenue, Cully Boulevard Alliance, Historic Park Rose, Jade District, Division Midway, and the Rosewood Initiative. On the workforce and development and Venture Portland side of things, we received $2 million in ongoing general fund, with 1.4 going to workforce, 600,000 going to Venture Portland, 1.7 in CDBG, which supports workforce development efforts, 230 in E-Zone, which is sometimes revenues that are generated from companies that are enrolled in the E-Zone program, and sometimes needed to supplement programming, and 3.5 and 1 ARPA carryover funds, with that being split between 2.5 million for workforce and 1 million for Venture Portland. With the workforce development programs, you can see kind of our key performance metrics. We've been able to serve through adult, youth, and workforce navigation over 1,600 workforce participants, 67% of those being people of color. And then also in capacity building across the business districts, over 4,500 hours of technical assistance and training. With the expiring one-time funds in the form of ARPA, some of the outcomes that we're looking at from the workforce side of things is the 185 internships that have been able to be supported with the ARPA funds, as well as campaigns that were coordinated with the Here for Portland initiative, and 200 businesses that were served via that programming. Next slide, please. With our business advancement team, they focus on assisting growing local businesses and development opportunities and technical support. They're able to invest back in Portland with more living wage jobs and inclusive economic growth. To advance the goal of creating access to quality jobs and career path opportunities for Portlanders, the business advancement team focuses on inclusive job creation, business competitiveness, and equitable economic growth. The business advancement team has been able to create, retain trade sector jobs, support businesses through technical assistance, have companies enroll and participate in public benefit agreements, and also through the initiative that Portland Means Progress, where they're working with anchor institutions and companies around supplier diversity, have supported $400 million in local spend to buy back businesses, and through the enterprise zone agreements and community benefits with that programming, $92 million in local spend with BIPOC businesses. Next slide, please. With the Office of Events and Film, this was work that was launched this year with one-time funding. The Office of Events and Film is focused on serving as a concierge service for event and film production in support of the creative economy. OEF includes the Portland Film Office, My People's Market, and the newly formed Events Office. OEF aims to strengthen the events and film industry by providing support through grants that demonstrate an impact on the local economy and center BIPOC representation, navigation, and support of film and event producers navigating permits and other regulations, and supporting signature events and activations to bolster commercial activity and larger scale productions. Next slide, please. Some of the foundational capacity building that has been able to be accomplished through the availability of one-time funding included supporting capacity building at the Cultural Chambers of Commerce. This included the creation of a new Asian chamber, the Asian Pacific Islander Chamber of Commerce of Oregon. Additionally, we were able, through the one-time investment of ARPA funds, meet a need that has come up through the business community and partner organizations around central resourcing and navigation of services with the launch of the PDX Small Business Hub, which happened in July. We are continually building out the resources. The Hub thus far has served 200 clients through one-on-one business advising and been able to provide access and referral services to businesses in language service and culturally responsive services as well. Additionally, with the funds that we were able to receive, we're responding to vandalism efforts through the repair grant. For those that have received physical damage as a result of vandalism. There's also as Kimberly alluded to, we received funds for small business stabilization to offset mounting operating costs to businesses that are in danger of being displaced. The funding also helped support the work that went into the development of the Inclusive Economic Development Strategy and the corresponding work around from Echo Northwest that looked at the commercial corridors throughout the city as well as the central city. And then funding that was able to support the groundbreaking at Broadway Corridor, which paves the way for potentially up to 200 units of affordable housing, as well as addressing needs of the affordable commercial space and then in the design and renovation of the Fairfield. And with that, I think, Kimberly, I'll turn it back.
Thank you. All right, so just to close us out, going to mention the role that Prosper Portland played in the Nick Fish, which was part project manager and part investor. So Prosper Portland acquired the property on behalf, or the multiple properties on behalf of Prosper Portland and Parks at the time, and we worked to write the grant application to secure EPA funds for the cleanup, to lead the selection and oversight of the environmental remediation, and then the community engagement and consultant contracts for the park, as well as the RFP to select the development partners, which we did in partnership with the Housing Bureau. We then invested $5.9 million towards that checkerboard of a mix of income and really beautiful workforce housing, and $3.6 million of gateway TIF towards the build out of the ground floor retail. I'm happy to say that today Prosper owns the 11,000 square feet of the ground floor of the the retail space, and we are actively leasing those spaces, and we have 5 of 11 that are tenanted. 5 of 9 that are tenanted or very close to being tenanted, and just are really excited about the diversity of tenants and the uses that will be able to both serve the community where they've expressed a desire to have this adjacent to the beautiful park, and so we continue to enjoy the opportunity to be a long-term steward and to continue to partner with Parks as we steward the asset right adjacent to the beautiful park. So with that, we are happy to take any questions that you might have.
Great. So why don't we do this? We've been at this for about an hour and 35 minutes. Why don't we take a break before we get into Q&A? Why don't we break till 1:45, and then we will reconvene and take Q&A. Does that sound good?
Well, we have BDS, and then we can take Q&A.
We have one more
Oh, you
bureau
want to do
cover.
BDS first? Okay.
After
I-
we come back from the break.
Yeah, so why don't we take a break, and then let's come back, and then we'll do BDS, and then we'll save the balance of the time for Q&A. Good, we're in recess.
Recording stopped.
doing part of the presentation with me today. The Bureau of Development Services is often thought of as the city's permitting agency. However, we're just one of 7 city bureaus involved in reviewing development proposals, permit applications, et cetera, and getting them through that process. Each of the 7 city bureaus involved is administering particular regulations related to their bureau's mission or the infrastructure system that they manage. These bureaus are PBOT, BES, the Water Bureau, Portland Parks and Rec, Portland Fire and Rescue, and the Housing Bureau. So you all have one of those probably or more in your portfolio. These bureaus are spread across multiple service area groupings. Next slide. Our Bureau's mission is to promote safety, livability, economic vitality through the efficient and a collaborative application of building and development codes. Our relationship to BPS is that they write and amend some of the codes BDS administers and enforces, primarily the zoning code. Our relationship to Prosper Portland is that they are one of our applicants, and we provide the review, permitting, and inspections on their projects. We also coordinate with them on small business support. And our relationship with the Housing Bureau is that they are both a permit reviewer for projects subject to the city's affordable housing requirements, and they're also a permit applicant of ours for their housing projects. We also coordinate with them on giving resources to low-income homeowners who are trying to bring their properties into compliance with codes. Our relationship with the Housing Bureau, my point of all this is that the BDS is at the intersection of many city bureaus and services. The majority of BDS revenue comes from fees and charges for services, with only approximately $1.1 million in ongoing general fund support. 98% of our revenue comes from fees and charges for services and interagency agreements. We're unique in that way in the city. The Bureau's work touches all 4 of Council's priority areas of community safety, economic vitality, livability, and housing, and we're on the front lines with the community every day. As an example of the volume of work we do, we issued 7,137 building permits worth $2.0 billion in project valuation last fiscal year alone. Next slide, please. This slide gives a brief overview of the Bureau's finances. Starting with the pie chart in the upper left, BDS is projecting revenues of $67 million next fiscal year. As the pie graph depicts, the vast majority of revenues come from fees and charges for services. BDS receives very little ongoing general fund support. Beneath the pie chart is some information about our staffing. The BDS budget supports 415 positions. And finally, the third chart on the right shows the BDS operating budget of $93.8 million in fiscal year 23-24, up from $86.4 million in 22-23. Primary drivers of Bureau expenditures are personnel costs, which make up approximately 70% of actual expenditures. As is the case citywide, BDS personnel costs are increasing due to higher than normal COLA increases and the impacts of recently negotiated labor agreements. You'll see a difference between the 2 columns on the left and the 2 on the right. The budgeted figures shown in the 2 columns on the right include all budgeted positions, including vacancies, while the 2 columns on the left are actual expenditures, reflecting only filled positions. Next slide, please. The work we do examining building permit plans, inspecting buildings, and ensuring compliance with the building code helps promote community safety. Additionally, the Bureau's work to deal with dangerous buildings, inspections of rental units, and our work on temporary shelters furthers community safety. BDS also, with 6 other bureaus involved with development review and permitting, supports Portland economic vitality by working with property owners and the construction industry. The Bureau also supports small businesses through our Empowered Communities program. The Bureau supports livability by working to reduce disrepair and ensure safe and healthy housing for Portland residents, as well as through the application of livability-related requirements in codes such as the zoning code and the tree code. And BDS and the 6 other bureaus involved in development review and permitting play an important role in the development of all types of housing, from single-family and multifamily housing to mixed-use and transitional housing projects and temporary shelters. Next slide, please. As I said, 98% of BDS's ongoing funding comes from fees and charges for services, and only 2% comes from the general fund. And that 2%, that funds the Neighborhood Inspections Program. The construction industry is volatile, as you well know, and the Bureau's fee revenue is tied directly to those fluctuations that we regularly see. Also, multiple factors impact the construction industry's cycles, such as high interest rates, labor costs, materials costs, all of which have been high over the last several years, and the supply chain issues we've seen exacerbated during the pandemic. We're getting through those, but there's still some additional building materials and things like transformers, which are causing a year delay on some projects. Despite construction industry and economic fluctuations, it's critical that the Bureau maintain a stable workforce to be well-positioned to respond to increases in demand. The Bureau sets aside financial resources during the busy times to support our staffing levels through the economic downturns. Our challenge is to balance the need to provide faster services with the need to maintain financial reserves that are necessary to maintain our workforce through a downturn. Pictured here is the Portland International Airport, which is undergoing a major expansion. This project is a good representation of the connection BDS has to the economy. A vibrant Portland creates demand for travel and tourism, creating the need for airport travel and increased economic activity throughout the city. Additionally, the Bureau's work to address empty derelict buildings supports community safety and neighborhood livability, which in turn impacts property values and the tax base, and whether investors and businesses choose to locate in neighborhoods. When new buildings are permitted and constructed, they often have a multiplier effect on the community, bringing more housing, new shops, restaurants, and entertainment. These are things that make Portland a special place, as well as producing general fund and permit revenue. The fee methodology for most permits is based on a percentage of the overall development project's valuation. This means that large commercial projects with a high project valuation are a main source of the Bureau's fee revenue, but there are very few large projects on the horizon. Also, the large projects subsidize the smaller, lower valuation residential projects, allowing the fees for those projects to remain low. So when the mix of projects changes, as they're doing, and large projects dry up, we are left with the smaller projects like residential remodels and additions, which don't pay for themselves, resulting in the Bureau needing to draw on its financial reserves, which we are currently doing. Elshad, would you like to take the next slide?
Elshad Hajiev, Deputy Director for the Bureau of Development Services. On this slide, you see a graph that shows BDS historical revenues, and the last two lighter color bars are actually our projections for this fiscal year and the next fiscal year. As Rebecca mentioned, majority, 98% of our revenues are coming from our fees and charges. And she also talked about how volatile the construction industry is, which makes our financial planning process extremely challenging. We go through a very rigorous process to develop the absolute best possible projections. And I want to mention that we are the only bureau in the city besides City Budget Office that employs statistical analysis regression models to forecast our revenues. We're also the only and very unique bureau that very fortunate to have our own financial advisory committee that was set up back in 2009, 2010, when we were coming out from the financial crisis. This committee consists of local economists, development industry experts, and they provide their opinions, they provide their expertise on the future of construction activity and overall economic activity in the Portland area for us to help us do our financial plan and forecast our revenues and expenditures for the next 5 years. We meet with the committee at least twice a year, sometimes more than that when we see changes in economic activity that may impact our revenues and may impact our workload. This year, the focus of discussions that we had with our financial advisory committee were mostly focused on the impact of the rising interest rates. And as you can see, those rising interest rates are having impact all over the economy across the United States. We are expecting, as you can see from this graph, that decreases in development and therefore you see that revenue collections are lower than previous years. Rebecca mentioned several factors that also put pressure on our expenditures. We're talking about COLA, we're talking about merit increases, we're talking about the newly negotiated labor contracts that all increase our costs. 70% of our expenditures are labor costs, personnel costs. However, one challenge that we are facing as a bureau is retaining and attracting experienced workforce. Next slide, please. We collect our revenues, most of our revenues, kind of at the end of the process. And however, the services that we provide to our customers, they continue after we collect the revenues. For example, plan review revenues are collected in advance of actually providing those services. Same goes for the inspection, building permit fees, for example, that pay for inspections. So there is this lag in time when the revenues are received and the workload actually happens. And again, as we discussed, our revenues and our financial standing fluctuates with the volatile construction industry. As far as the staffing goes, we learned pretty hard lessons back in 2008, 2009, when we had to lay off more than half of our workforce. So, and retaining our workforce, our trained and experienced and talented workforce, as long as possible through those volatile times in construction industry is extremely important for our bureaus. That's why a lot of times you see vacancies that we carry year after year. Those vacancies allow us to expand and contract really fast to respond to the changes in construction activity. The other very important factor that I want to mention is that the workforce market is very tight right now, and we are also competing with other local jurisdictions and also with construction companies for the same experienced workforce. Having said that, since March 2022, we filled 62 regular positions to respond to the demand, to increase demand in our services. We are very cognizant of the outlook for construction activity, and we must be careful to only add staff where we can financially support, but also understand that we need to provide services to the community. Next slide, please. The intent of this slide is to provide you overall idea of the volume of work and volume of activity that the Bureau processes. For example, we have almost 400 zoning hotline calls per month answered. We have 347 complaints. Per month, we conduct 3,700 commercial inspections and 7,500 residential inspections. Rebecca, back to you.
Thank you, Elshad. The next slide. Yes. As part of the permitting improvement work we've been doing, that was kicked off by Commissioner Ryan and Commissioner Mapps, and as that work continues, we've been working also on performance management and have a great number of improvement initiatives underway. We now have greater visibility into the permit review groups and their turnaround times on service delivery. And so the data that's shown in this slide gives just an example of some of those review groups and their percentage of time of meeting the deadlines for first review for permits, both for residential and commercial, to give you an idea of the type of data we're now able to pull out of the permitting software system that we have. Next slide. That new internal dashboard that I was just talking about is one of the many tools that we've now put in place to give us the ability to intervene and diagnose and address delays as they're occurring. And it's intended to help supervisors across the 7 bureaus involved in permitting have the tools and visibility into the system and the performance of their staff and their teams to be able to address situations as soon as possible and intervene with whatever's necessary to help unstick projects that are in the pipeline. The Permit Improvement Task Force, as I mentioned, it has multiple improvement projects underway, too many to list here today. One of the examples is the business process improvement work that we've been doing with review groups. We just completed one with the Water Bureau, and have started one with urban forestry staff at the Parks Bureau. And we've completed one with our plans examiners at BDS to look at low-hanging fruit for finding greater efficiencies with the processes that they're using to review permit applications. We've begun assigning a single point of contact to housing projects as well as to small business projects, and we're expanding the BDS customer success team to assist customers who have questions and need assistance. Tomorrow, we're launching a new solar permitting pilot program. And we've got an ordinance coming to council April 5th to address some issues with the timing of when SDCs are paid, which we're expecting that that's going to help make housing projects more feasible. We've convened a small business support work group in collaboration with Prosper Portland, and we're working on continued customer service training across all the bureaus involved in with permitting. Elsha?
Next slide, please. Oh, this slide. Thank you. It's absolute privilege for me to talk about next two programs. The first one that I'm going to cover is the Empowered Neighborhoods program. And before I do, I just want to give a shout out to employees who actually do the work that you will see on this slide. Leisha, Amy, Dory, Cassandra, thank you. And this is the only program that received the one-time funding in 2022 to 2023 budget. There was a one FTE that was adding that double the capacity of that program. This program is an important part of BDS overall strategy to provide equitable outcomes to people of color and people with disabilities. The program served in the last calendar year 75 community members, 88 of them identified as BIPOC, 16 identified as having disability, 68 identified as low income, and 65% identified as English as a second language. The typical projects in this program consist of as-built work done without permits. These projects, they need in-depth analysis of construction, including structural assessments. Depicted on this slide are before and after photos of the project worked by the Empowered Neighborhoods team. As I mentioned, most of our clients in this program, they qualify as low income and benefit from our group of volunteers who, when identified, can provide free drafting and engineering services. The program coordinator has a task of leading coordination and implementation of all parts of the project planning, permitting, and identifying resources for construction to address code violations and bring them into compliance through home repair. The work in this program is ongoing, and even though the funding that was given to us is one time, the Bureau will continue the work of this program, and we will fund it with our fee and revenues for fees and charges. Next slide, please. Also, very privileged to talk about this program, and I want to give a shout out to Beth Benton and her division for excellent work. A lot of times people associate Bureau of Development Services with just new development and new buildings, but that's not exactly true. Our neighborhood inspections program deals with existing older housing stock, dangerous and deteriorated buildings, poorly maintained apartments exposing tenants to health and safety risks, hoarding situations, nuisance conditions, and vacant homes, which are often taken over by squatters. All these conditions have a direct impact on neighborhood stability and livability. Again, depicted on this slide are before and after photos of the project worked by the neighborhood inspections team in conjunction with the Empowered Neighborhoods program. These photos represent the needs of a typical housing case, with owners struggling to fund resources to bring their property into compliance. We were able to refer this case to BDS Empowered Neighborhood Program, which then partnered with PHB, Lead Grant and Rehab Program, along with the Rebuilding Together Center to address critical repairs, and also with African American Alliance for Home Ownership that was able to provide energy upgrades utilizing Portland Clean Energy Funds. Again, there's so many connections, just this one case. However, there are so many cases like that that need attention and additional funding. Again, the main focus of the Neighborhood Inspections Program is to investigate and resolve conditions impacting public health and safety throughout our city. Our goal is compliance and ensuring that the buildings in our city are maintained and that everyone has access to safe and healthy housing. This program is also reliant on the issuance of code enforcement fees and charges for service, along with the general fund to support and cover its operating costs. Those fees, the code enforcement fees, they're designed to be a tool to motivate property owners to make required minimum repairs. And for many of our cases that work, our statistics indicate that actually 85% of our cases, they resolve in compliance without assessing any fees. However, there's a 15% that the fees are still being assessed. And for those most vulnerable members of our community, elderly, disabled, low income, and those with additional hardships, these financial penalties are an additional barrier, negatively impacting their ability to comply. We need to reduce, as a city, our reliance on enforcement revenues for this program and fund this program with a general fund. This year, because additional ongoing general fund was not available, the Bureau did not request funding for this program. However, the current revenue structure and general fund that is allocated right now are not sufficient to cover the cost of providing services. We want to highlight this issue, this funding issue, for the Council for the future budget cycles. As BDS will need we will request additional ongoing general fund support. And with that ongoing general fund support, hopefully we will get it, we can be a positive partner with struggling property owners versus the regulatory arm of local government. And our program will continue to support city's goals through reduction of despair, revitalization of properties, and the preservation of housing stock, all of which contribute towards stabilizing neighborhoods. With that, I'm going to turn it over back to Rebecca.
Thank you. Next slide. So back to our case study of the Nick Fish development. BDS provided permitting and inspection services on this project, and it was one of the first projects to use electronic plan review software so the plans could be reviewed digitally. It was the third PHB project to use the BDS process management service, which provides a point of contact and internal process manager. And once the building was constructed, our facilities permit program has been working with Prosper Portland and getting commercial tenants in there and permitting that work on those commercial tenant spaces on the ground floor. That's the end of our Bureau's presentation, and I want to thank Eric Engstrom for putting a lot of hours into this PowerPoint presentation for our 4 bureaus. And I want to highlight the next slide, which are the key takeaways for you today, which are that each of our 4 bureaus face significant challenges ahead. BPS is facing a funding cliff for their current service levels with their climate and graffiti programs. BDS is facing impacts to its primary funding source with declining permit fee revenue due to a forecasted recession. The Housing Bureau has been spending down the housing bonds, and Prosper Portland is facing declining TIF resources along with the Housing Bureau. We'd be happy to answer any questions you may have, and thank you for your time today.
Well, that's a depressing slide, Dan. Donna. What's with that? 2 hours and 15 minutes in, the world is ending. We're going to fix that. Questions, colleagues? I've got a bunch, but I'll go last.
Do you want us to go in a certain order, or do you just want us to all shoot away?
Fire away. Go for it.
I'm going to ask one now, and then I'm going to have it later. With respect to our North Star plans for PPS, has there been thought to recalibrating across the board our long-term strategic plans in light of the dramatic shifts that the city and cities like it have experienced since 2020? And, you know, we could lay out all the things, certainly we went through a pandemic, but the basic trade for businesses and individuals to choose to live and to reside in urban settings versus suburban settings seems to have fundamentally shifted. And how sustainable that shift is remains to be a question. But the fundamental question when we think about our North Star plans, our long-term visioning of the city is, are we making sufficient space to recalibrate how different the world is in 2023 versus 2019, 2020?
Commissioner, that was a great question to tee us off, and I'll start, but offer my colleagues space to answer as well. The comprehensive plan as we know it today is still strong scaffolding, so to speak, on how we can build our city. As we alluded to, it is one place to start to look at how we're going to be building the future of the city, but we have the subsequent plans, whether it be our climate emergency work plan, the housing needs analysis and production strategies, the economic development strategy that Prosper's leading. All those provide more strategic objectives that are responsive to what we're experiencing today in 2023. And I would say that there are still some opportunities that we're going to look at in the comp plan over the coming years to tweak and to be responsive. The action that the council took recently to look at conversions from commercial to residential space on a code level is indicative of the types of big thinking that we're going to need to do to pivot in response to not just what we experienced from the pandemic in terms of hybrid working, but also just how our economic flavor of the city is going to be. Like, what is our future as a city? And once we have a clear mission for that, then yeah, updating our plans are going to be essential to do that. The last thing I want to offer is in very much real time, my colleagues here at the table, but also across the bureaus and the rest of the city, have been very responsive in looking at the tweaks that we need to be to accelerate development to ensure that we're housing our homeless. And yet, we know it's not enough. So what are the tools, what's the gap analysis that we need to do to complete that story? And when the time comes for us to update the comp plan as an example, we'll certainly be ready to do that. But I'll stop there to give other space.
I do want to build off your last point. I think in my short time as a commissioner, watching the response of your respective bureaus to the issues, to the 90-day goals set forth by council, has been impressive, and certainly at the tactical and code level. My question is maybe going up a level, and the assumptions we made about the future of our city in 2019, much less 2013, have they sufficiently changed, and have we created the space to test some of those assumptions in your planning for plans and your budget for plans in the coming year? That is, and I realize it's somewhat abstract and big picture, but it's I tip my hat to what you all have done so far in 2023 at the lower level, and this is intended to be a bigger question.
So can I just give you a couple of examples of where we're going to probably see that play out this year and spilling into 2024? So for example, under the guise of the comprehensive plan, we're required to do a housing needs analysis. So when the last one was conducted, it was build dense, one studio and one bedroom units. That's what the housing needs analysis said we needed, and we delivered. I'm guaranteeing you that when we do this next housing needs analysis, it's probably going to tell a different story. So although the comp plan gives us guidelines on where we should build, centers and corridors, those strategies still remain true. It's how we build within those corridors and those city centers and those town centers that will likely change. So that's one example. And then the next piece is another example is our economic opportunities analysis. Again, required by the state to deliver. It's an update to our plan. That will probably look different today as we recalibrate than it did the last time we did it. So all that's to say is there are tools within the larger plans that you're referring to, like the comp plan, that give us an opportunity to tweak to be responsive to the issues of the day.
Yeah, one last observation on this, and I'm going to turn off my colleagues and get into make space for some more specific ones, but just one example, climate justice, for example, right? And not to belabor the point, but cities were successful in 2019 and 2020. We are seeing a substantial attraction to suburban living and economic activity. How do we address climate change responsibly if cities fail? If all of this infrastructure that we have invested hundreds of millions of dollars to bring people to the center of the city, if they're on a sustained basis not utilized, if people don't return in material ways to the city, it just calls into question whether, we're going to make any headway on climate change if cities fail. And again, open-ended, but just as things that keep me up at night.
Could I, so this is not directly about the 2035, but I'll add a couple of things. I think that's the question that I think is foremost at the front of our collective minds. And so I agree, it is the question right now. And I want to note a few things that we've learned as part of the Inclusive Economic Development Strategy analysis, again, that was funded by City Council. So one thing I think is that what we have seen within our central city is that some sub-districts have actually done well. So while overall we are seeing that, those places that have a significant amount of office use and no residential have had significant, challenges, that's not been the case for some of our newer neighborhoods like the Pearl District. And so I think that's a hopeful example. And it's very much in line with the way the comprehensive plan, shows us, which is there's a lot of flexibility within our central city to increase the amount of housing that could be developed here. So that's the kind of thing that I think might help shape just the types of investments that we want to be collectively making. But I think to your larger point, fundamentally what we are seeing within the Inclusive Economic Development Strategy is that we cannot take growth for granted. And I think this is the most fundamental change that is facing our city and our city as a body. It is a major culture shift because what we have done historically since at least the 90s is leverage that growth because we knew it was coming. We have leveraged that growth to secure the kinds of public benefits that we want. And I think the shift that we are going to be proposing is that we can no longer take that for granted. And so our ability to leverage additional things from that, we are going to be pushing on a rope sometimes. And so I just think that is something that we are collectively going to need to talk about is how do we culturally as a city and with partners do things like address the tax value proposition in order to make sure that it is an attractive place to stay. And so that's my quick response.
Well said. Thank you.
I just would like to add a couple thoughts as well. I think there's a few key points that Donnie brought up around we need a plan for more families. So I think we've faced this with Portland Public Schools. We faced this across the board. When you see where rents are, we're building plenty of one-bedrooms and studios. We have a dearth of 3s and 4s, even 2s. So that plays out in both homeownership as well as rental properties. So the other thing we noticed with COVID, neighborhoods did okay. Neighborhoods were fairly stabilized. The people didn't see a huge net migration out. We saw rents modestly went up a little bit, but vacancy rates were pretty low. And so we're sort of learning from that. I think there's the piece that I think we're just right now we're this intersection of coming out of a pandemic. We're not totally out of it, but we're re-envisioning how we all live and work now, but all at the same time as a city that has faced huge displacement and gentrification pressures. So I think Colley TIF is providing a little bit of an interesting model for us as how we do recalibrate, how we do the economic development and housing together in neighborhoods with the community saying, hey, we need to also look at stabilization as well as growth, where before TIF was mainly a driver. That first you go in with the higher income investments first, and you hope you build in more increment, and then you'll think about the affordable housing later. We're not doing that anymore. I think we're learning that we have to be balancing our economic, or addressing the disproportionate inequities that we're seeing as we're building out these communities, as we deploy more and more TIF. TIF is still a huge role, has a huge role to play here, and how we do that, I think the college can serve as a model here.
Thank you. It's helpful.
Mr. Mayor, colleagues, I do have a couple of questions, but I also feel like we should check in with Kevin, who's been online and very patiently listening today to see if he has any questions that he'd like to ask before I go.
Thanks, Commissioner. No, there's just a lot of data, a lot of information to just observe. Should I say, taking it in and trying to understand a lot of complex issues. So my little snippets, I can form some opinions, but I think I need to understand a little more. But the only thing I would say, and this is more of a just kind of a structural thing, when we look at all these presentations, it just seems like if we could get some sort of standard format with, like, you know, numbers, head counts, what are the top 20 things we're looking at, because they're all individualized and different. So, you know, some start back in 2016 and go to 2030, and just the variability is kind of hard to track. So that would be the only thing I would kind of share. Thanks.
If I may, Mayor, I realize it's getting late in the day, and this is there's a lot of rich material to explore. I'll try to keep it pretty short. I'll probably ask a question of each bureau that presented today. I think I want to start out by going to Eric. You showed us a slide on KPIs for planning. Can we go back and take a look at that? Close. Yeah, that we were close.
Yeah. Hold on. We were there, and then I started the show, and it bumped me somewhere else. Right there.
Number one, great presentation, everybody. Thanks for this slide in particular. And we don't need to see the whole slide. Can you explain the KPI for PSEF?
Yeah, it's just the number of rounds of grant solicitations we've done. We've been trying to have a consistent number each year.
Do we have KPIs for PSEF in particular? Like what we will?
Digging into the program, yeah, one of the things that will be part of the five-year climate investment plan is a set of specific measures that are tied to that plan.
Okay.
And you'll see that this summer.
Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, Commissioner, as directed last summer by council, we've gone to work at building it's currently a static dashboard, but ultimately when we come out this summer, we'll be able to show both the performance measures of each RFP that we release,
Yep.
plus the overall impacts metrics of the total package of dollars that are, pushed out to community.
Have you figured out the process you're going to use to develop those KPIs yet?
It's, the PSEF Grant Committee was been doing workshopping since last summer.
Okay.
And so those will be, again, those will be KPIs that we'll bring to council when we bring the CPI for your approval.
Okay, great. I'm glad to hear all that. I look forward to learning more. It would be great if we could have a little bit of a council dialogue around, or at least if we could at least educate council about what specific goals we hope to achieve with this significant fund. Housing here, I'll just make it more of a statement. There's so many things that are happening in the housing space right now. I think quite appropriately, we kind of frame this policy area as a housing emergency. I believe maybe it was yesterday. We reviewed, the housing report, which had lots of disturbing information, including the fact that A majority of people of color can't afford to live in most of our neighborhoods here in Portland. And I'll remind, I know minorities are a minority here in Portland, but we are also kind of the canary in the coal mine. So the experience of Native Americans and African Americans that we see today, if trends continue, will be the experience of every Portlander in about 15 or 20 years, unless we do something different. In our dialogue around that, we talked about the desirability of having a council work session that kind of unpacks what's happening in the housing space. Commissioner Rubio's office has been great, embraced the idea. I just look forward to, I'm going to ask the chiefs to get together sometime and just figure out a time to make that happen. I recognize there's a lot of work that needs to be, that's happening right now in real time, so like, maybe maybe the summer is the right time to do it. I don't know, but I think it's an important dialogue for council to have. And I'll move on to Prosper. And here, you said something which caught my ear, Director, but I didn't catch all of it. And this might be unfair because it was just like half a line. You talked about a 2%, in your presentation, you talked about a 2% return on something. Do you remember that line?
Yep. Yes. Yes. So what we have been able to do as we've dug into our financial forecast for the next 5 years, and actually the next 10 years, and I want to give Tony the credit for this, but they've been able to look at our action plans within each of the districts and look at what our community priorities are. And then we've identified what portion are going to go to grants and loans. And so we anticipate about 44% will go towards grants and infrastructure within those investments. And then we've looked historically at our performance in terms of, lending performance, et cetera. And so I think the average on that is maybe 3.8%. And so the blended average between the two ends up being about 2% across our investments in tax increment finance districts that have action plans.
Did you have a goal return on investment? Is 2% good?
2%, well, I mean, 2% is, it's in line with, so when we looked at a social impact investment model, we actually took a page from the philanthropic model, right, where you have your resources that you are just granting out. And then you have your resources that are, basically you're expecting a return of capital, but a below market return on capital. And so that is oftentimes referred to as program investment. And so in a program investment, 2% is not unheard of. It's probably on the low side, but since it's a mixture of grants and program-related investments, a blended rate of 2% feels conservative, and it feels like something we can include in our budget and in our financial forecast. We then have what we're anticipating, which is more of like a mission-related investment. So it's both trying to be in line with mission in the do no harm sort of, but also to try to cross-subsidize across. And so that's where the strategic investments, we're hoping to get more of a 6 to 7% return. And we think we can achieve that based on having looked back at our performance and what we have been able to do even through the pandemic.
Okay, that's helpful. And maybe the next time we have a check-in, it would probably be helpful to me to learn a little bit more about your return on investments and expected returns and whatnot. And speaking of obscure observations that kind of caused my ears to perk up, I was actually delighted to hear that BDS uses regression analyses to forecast your revenues. Can you tell me, you don't have to spend a lot of time on it, can you tell me a little bit about how that works, who does it, and how long you've been doing it, and how good the model is?
Absolutely. Actually, I was hired back in 2006 to establish that process for the Bureau. I worked for BCD, Building Codes Division, for the state before that, and I did the forecasting for them. So we have several main revenue streams, like building permits, like building permit revenue, mechanical permit revenue, plumbing, electrical. So those are kind of the backbones in terms of the revenue producing streams. Those are the big ones. So we collect the data on those revenues going back 20, 30 years. So we use that data and we can correlate that data with macroeconomic parameters such as interest rates, such as employment, and employment in different categories. It could be construction employment, it could be total employment. We're using the housing affordability indices. There are several different ones. Basically, we developed those models. Kyle O'Brien, our finance manager, big kudos to him and his team. He took over that work back in 2017, right? 17. So his team is doing an amazing job and working on those models. And basically, every year we go through iteration of model producing and making sure that those models are adequate in terms of the statistical kind of potency of those models. We're also looking back and looking and seeing how did they do, let's say, back forecasting. Let's say if we use them last year, were they correct in forecasting our revenues? And then also forecasting, for the next 5 years. So we do all of that, and believe me, there were years when, especially when economy is kind of on this turning point, those are the years when it's very difficult to forecast revenues. He would develop up to 100 models for each stream.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that would all happen during the Christmas season, the best time of the year. So, and then our financial advisory committee is a big part of it because we select. There are several of us. We look at all of those models. We select the best ones. We bring that to that committee for them to look at it, and then they tell us. Does it make sense? Doesn't it make sense? Go change this, add this variable, take that variable out. So we have very good discussions with them, very technical, but very good discussions. So that's what we do. And I know that the only other person who does this in the city is city economist.
Yes, that's consistent with what I've observed too.
Yes.
So does your modeling group talk to the other bureaus that have been here?
We do share our forecast. So since 2008, it's kind of like other bureaus started to kind of, what are you doing? Can you share all your forecast? Can you share this and that, your future, the growth rate? So we've been sharing that. And then I want to say 5 years ago, we started inviting other bureaus to those meetings. So they're actually come in and they join the meeting. They hear what the economists have to say. City economist attends those meetings regularly. So it's kind of that committee, it became larger than just, supporting our bureau. And we're very grateful for those people who volunteer their time, their expertise, and they come and talk and advise us. So it's,
well, I'm delighted to hear that. I think this is an important tool that, frankly, I think is underutilized in the city. And if I were to just direct we can use this tool to estimate BDS revenues for the next 5 years. I think all of you basically share are dealing with essentially the same data instead of trying to predict how much cash is going to come into BDS. We could use tools like this to think about how different interventions might change the production of housing stock or jobs or whatnot. Be very jobs at our wages at the low end or something. I think this is a really rich territory, which is just shockingly underexploited in local government. And especially as you guys are sitting down and talking about charter reform and how we can do things different and modernize the tools we use, I hope that this is one of the discussions that you look at. And if it requires a little bit of dollars at some future budget cycle to put together a little work group to explore the possibility there, I would very much support that. I think it's a good idea. And we could stay here all night, but no one wants to do that. I think I will not ask any more questions, colleagues, and I'll turn the floor back over to the mayor.
Oh, sure. Hello. Good to see all of you. Some of you I miss seeing frequently, and you'll probably know what some of my questions will be based on some of those conversations. I want to start off with the Housing Bureau. Because homelessness is such a big deal, and it's a big part of our budget, and we're having dialogue about how it shows up in almost every bureau as an expense. I'm having trouble sometimes when I look at the presentation of knowing where it's accounted for in terms of our expenses. Because do you see it as a pass-through? And so maybe even if we just call that out in in this presentation somewhere?
This year, Commissioner, we ended up just taking it out altogether, just by virtue of it being a pass-through and it being of the responsibility of Multnomah County and the joint office, if showing up in their budget. And because the shift with the liaison to the mayor's office, it still is being funneled through the Portland Housing Bureau budget. We did that work for the joint office, but we didn't put it in any of the presentation materials.
Okay, that's why I noticed it, because I was used to seeing it for a couple of years. So it's just, but it still exists. So where does it land? I mean, do you have anything to add to this? Commissioner Rubio, Mayor, I mean, I'm just confused on where it went.
Yeah, I don't know.
So, Commissioner, it's my understanding that that was part of the presentation that was with the mayor's group
Oh, okay.
that went earlier.
Yeah.
When I inquired about whether or not we should include it with our presentation, I was told, no, it was going to be part of that other presentation.
Okay, so for the
that's why it's
record,
not included in here.
It's just 45 million does exist, and
It does exist. We are managing it.
All right.
Making sure bills are getting paid.
Thanks.
So, yes.
Why you're with the mic? First of all, thank you for your steadfast work with the Northeast Coalition. And I know you and I had dialogue about that, of course, and also home ownership, which is the real opportunity to build generational wealth in our BIPOC communities. And I'm grateful that you have it listed here. I know I pushed hard to try to get some money in there for land banking and such. Where do you see that program today? And even in times like this, I think it always is the first that we cut, even though it's probably one of our best long-term economic justice opportunities. So, yeah, speak to that.
As you know, Commissioner, you're a champion of getting us some ARPA resources to secure the future of particular land, so land acquisition fund, and that with priority for meeting homeownership goals. So that program has been, we're working with the Network of Oregon Affordable Housing. It's a lending entity. They're used to doing revolving loan funds for these kind of projects.
Is that the group with Proud Ground and?
So that's actually NOAA, but it's going to be using they'll be our financing partner. And they'll get the resources out to the homeownership groups as opportunities come up. We've got criteria we're working on right now and a subrecipient contract. We're hoping to launch that program July 1.
Excellent. When we were looking at the data that shows, it's not affordable, then we were looking at incomes. There was just, I think there's a way to sync up the charts. Maybe Prosper Portland had some data on this too. When you use the number of those making over 74,000 is the largest growth. Yet, if I was doing that, I would have said, why don't we have two other categories, since you can't even afford to buy a home with 74,000. So it seemed a little odd to me to not see categories after that. Like, where's the category for the median income, which is 102, 103, something like that? And then, what is it?
It's 106,000.
See, thank you. And then maybe another one for the brackets that get taxed the most right now with our new carve-out taxes that we have for pre-K for all and such. That's like 125. I think it'd be helpful if we had those categories as well. And then we can also see some trends with those categories.
Absolutely. I asked the same question, and so here's what I heard from the internal economist who works on that slide.
You asked the same question?
Well, just
I feel really
why
smart
is it
now. This
70?
good.
So
Okay.
if you see the two slides, you'll note that the highest quintile in the first one is considerably lower than the second slide, and the reason is because it's looking back at putting the population or putting the workforce into 5 quintiles, starting in 2011, and seeing benchmarking in 2011 where the growth occurred. So in 2011, that top quintile started at 74. And so then you're looking at it and you're controlling for inflation. If you look at the second slide, which is just a snapshot today of where income is, it does start on the higher end. Your point is well taken. It's confusing to that end, but it's because we're benchmarking to 2011 and trying to see the growth rate
And you don't want to
within
move the
those
goalpost
quintiles.
from 2011.
I'm sorry?
Okay. You didn't want to move the goalpost from 2011 where you
Yeah.
started the data.
Yeah, so you're using
I get that.
2011, revenue.
Yet you're open to how we probably need more categories.
That's right.
Okay,
Yep,
cool.
thank you.
Soul District used to pop out to me, and where is it? It's under something, right?
Do we?
Soul District?
Yeah.
Soul District is one of the chambers that received.
So it's in that
massive growth.
category?
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah.
in the chamber category?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. If someone wants to jump in, go ahead. I'm just going through my questions.
I'm going to bootstrap off
Yeah.
his income question and just one of the policy takeaways. So it's often, two things are often reported. Relative to other major cities, Portland historically is relatively equitable in income distribution, top to bottom.
Yep.
But you presented a pretty glaring disparity in income by race in the city of Portland that has been a long-term trend. And it struck me because there's going to be a second wrinkle on tax policy here that we don't control, but that impacts this equation. But the first is that, there's been substantial dialogue about racial equity at the city level in recent years. There, state level, county level, metro. I mean, we apply an equity lens, a racial lens to so many policy questions. And yet we are continuing to see dramatically different outcomes, despite the racial lens, despite the equity lens. And I guess the question is that solving the problem? To apply the lens to these difficult questions of income and social mobility, are we making progress here? If the question is to narrow the gap between what black families make in the city and what white families make in the city, are we showing any progress there?
So there has been progress, and so we'll have some charts for you when we come back with the inclusive economic development strategy. And so one of the slides, or one of the areas that was produced, basically shows where by identity, by race and ethnicity, who is over or underrepresented by type of industry, so or type of work. So management versus service worker versus construction versus manufacturing, working in STEM. And what you see is that while there has been an increase or an improvement, so less underrepresentation in management, or things have been trending potentially in the right direction, there's still staggering inequities in terms of the number of white folks who are in management versus people of color, and overrepresentation of people of color in service. And so one of the things that we are talking about is the need to really think about how you deploy the workforce and help retool and reskill people so that they can connect to what are those high quality employment opportunities that we know are growing. And that's going to be something that's going to take multiple actors, and it's going to take time. And so I think that's where, universities, work systems, but also our private employers really committing to thinking about what are the hindrances? Why aren't we seeing that the level of mobility of people of color going from entry into management, into senior executives, and what needs to happen from a culture standpoint within the organization in order to make those moves. So I think it's a really meaty conversation. Look forward to having more conversations. But I do think this is I guess I would say I don't think we take our foot off the accelerator here. I think we continue, and because we are seeing some positive trends, and we need to see a lot more progress.
And I'm sorry for all my questions on economic. I have a bunch on housing, but I kind of feel like we're not going to have time for it today, and I didn't get to listen to the full presentation yesterday, unfortunately, so we'll circle back. But the last one here, if I understood the slide correctly, and I don't remember which one it was, but we are laggard in median household income recovery. Was that one of the, I was trying to decipher that slide.
So we are, I think it was a talking point that I might have said, but we are lagging in median household growth in comparison to the rest of the region and in comparison to our peers. So we're still seeing household income growth, and that makes sense given that we're seeing the highest growth within the highest quintile. But it's not to the same degree as is being experienced in terms of growth rate in Clark County or Washington County. And when you look at some of our peer cities, we're also slightly behind.
And do you attribute that primarily to tax policy since 2020, or are there other variables that we think are driving that dynamic. And so, you know, medium's not going up at the same rate as other comparative cities. Is that because we're losing more high income? You know, certainly PBA has released some data that argues for that. I'm just curious what your opinion
Yeah,
is on that.
I think we need to dig in a little bit to what exactly is driving it, but I do think that there is, you know, the sort of the call to action is to really focus on what are those fundamental drivers of business productivity. And so that means, to a certain extent, identifying what are the drags. And so I think that that's something that we can, you know, continue to tease apart in terms of why we're more or less competitive than other parts in the region and then in other central cities. You know, Seattle and San Francisco are similarly seeing some of their suburban collar portions, you know, thrive in a way that their central city is not. So we are not unique in this dynamic. But it is, I think, worth looking at things like tax policy, but also land availability. And certainly affordability, you know, just being able to live in the post-pandemic environment, being able to afford to live in a place that is close to an employment opportunity is really important. So,
Just jump in here. I think when you mentioned it, Director Esau, it's the big projects are what brings in a lot of revenue, not just to BDS, but it stimulates all of this. And so as a team here and as a council here, if we had to pick, like, what is our big development project that we're going to all focus on to make sure that it happens and that we dream big, what is it? There's several that I could think of in my little brain right now, but I'm just wondering, as a council, it'd be helpful if we all really focus and lean in somewhere. And you guys are wanting to jump out of your seats. Did I say something wrong?
no, it's just, it's
You're excited?
a little bit of an inside joke.
Okay.
I'm advocating for Broadway Corridor, but I would also advocate for OMSI,
Okay,
Albina
Broadway
Vision
Corridor,
Trust,
OMSI, going once, going
Montgomery.
twice.
I was saying Broadway Corridor.
Broadway Corridor.
At the same time as Kimberly was, so yeah.
All right, there's some.
Well, I mean, Commissioner Ryan, you hit on a nerve because we heard it from Prosper Portland, the impact of larger employers having a magnifying effect and larger projects in BDS and how they subsidize smaller projects. And so often that gets lost in policy discussions. We all want to protect small businesses. We all want to protect medium household income. But we need big projects and big employers to drive a lot of what we want to pay for. And it's hard to talk about sometimes, but,
Well,
so
let's-
thanks for elevating it.
It's not hard at all because it funds everything else. So for me at least, and for you and everyone here, I'm sure. So Broadway Corridor and OMSI are the two that seem to be the tip of everyone's tongue right now.
I would also say Montgomery Park is another one.
Montgomery
Also,
Park.
East Portland is another one. So we're not short on ideas.
All right, and with all that, our permitting system is improving. So thank you, Director Esau, for, I know, being the thought partner when we first started looking at that, and Commissioner Maps for jumping in and for carrying the water. We can't underestimate what a big deal it is that we continue to really focus on continuous improvement there. And that's one reason that we have those performance indicators that are really internal in terms of being honest about and transparent about where we are. And it's built trust with our partners because we're doing that. And I know you've also spent a lot of time focused on that and not really having enough staff to really do all that data work. So I just really thank you for diving in. I know it was impossible to do any continuous improvement work until we had that level set, and it took a while. So I just wanted to give you some attention. I'll just end with this last comment. I always thought the 31 to 60% AMI is too broad, and it really misses out on the workforce housing, and that really lands more at the 45%. And is that like a state thing we'd have to change? That's bigger than city council? Are we confined by these parameters?
There's HUD definitions of how you define low income. That's all it is. Happy to further refine.
Yeah,
disagree.
I've always thought that 31 to 60 was just too broad. No.
Mr. Mayor, if I may jump in. Commissioner Ryan, thank you for asking that question. I'm going to push back on the question a little bit. And I think there's an opportunity here to actually tie together a question raised by Commissioner Gonzalez and your question of Commissioner Gonzalez's question about why we're not making better progress on shrinking the inequality gap, and Commissioner Ryan's very different question about what are the major projects that we should
They're kind of connected.
focus on. Yeah, and I do think they're connected. I would argue, I would argue, and I'm sure Commissioner Gonzalez agrees with me, is that, we should maintain our commitment to equity and whatnot. At the same time, I think the data that we see clearly shows we're not making enough progress. For me, this raises a question of perhaps we have used the wrong tactics and tools to get to where we want to go. I think for example, in the equity space, we tend to be very project-oriented. And a more effective strategy that might lift more boats is to really look at the broader conditions that's, help a kid of color, succeed in school and go on to get higher education and then fall in love with Portland and decide to, buy a little condo and then single-family home and start the whole process over again. And all the projects that we talked about today, Montgomery Park, OMSI, the post office, all great projects. But I will partner with all of you to make sure that we can make them happen. I don't think we have to choose in this space. I think we can and should do all of these projects. But I would argue that part of council's role here is to create the broader economic and political and social conditions that creates an environment where these projects can move forward. And I think that we have gotten, and it's very understandable why, given the way the incentives and punishments are structured inside this building, to focus in on very specific projects, which will make some people very particularly happy. I hope, and for the next 2 years while I still have this job, I'm going to be focused on trying to look at the macro conditions out there and how we can change them to make things better. And frankly, that ties back to my question to BDS about regression and why I kind of encourage you all to use a higher level statistical analyses. It would help me if we had some insight into the key variables that impact the outcomes that we care about. And Mr. Mayor, with that, I am really done for today.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Rubio?
No, I just
Then
want to.
Kevin, you'll be up next.
Okay, well, maybe we should let Kevin, I was just going to close up.
Oh, I still have questions
Oh,
too. I
sorry,
was just
then
going to
go,
go last.
yeah.
Kevin, do you have any?
Okay, just a couple quick statements. In light of this whole diversity question, it just seems like if we kind of look at the leadership in the room, how homogeneous it is. I think it's something that all the bureaus in the city need to look at. And I could just see that this is my second year on the council. Everybody kind of looks like, but most of these things are the same, if you will. So I want to start there, and that's just kind of, I don't know if we can put that into goals or leadership's review process or something, but I think that's something to look at. And secondly, if you keep, as they say, if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same outcome. And I see that completely in these conversations because I heard them last year. So that's all I would add for now. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And I'll just be super quick here because I want to make sure we get out of here on time. Some of us have a forum immediately after this. Number one, could we reevaluate the housing indicator that is related to housing production? Could we at least take a look at that? Because it's on track and it appears to continue to be on track, but it doesn't necessarily tell us the whole story about the affordability piece, which is still a widening gap. And so maybe we could just think about that. I don't need an answer right now. Second of all, I want to be clear that the budget note to support both Prosper Portland and the Housing Bureau to help them address the TIF cliff, that will be, that budget note will be in the proposed budget. This is a conversation that we need to continue. We need to support both of these bureaus, and I don't want there to be any mystery between now and the release of the budget. It will be there. Also, just interestingly, I met with national leaders in both hospitality as well as the hotel industry as recently as a week ago. They made it very clear that large-scale events, particularly in the central city, are very important to them in terms of their decisions about investing in the city of Portland, their decisions about expanding in the city of Portland. Think events like the Blues Festival. Those are bread and butter events, marquee events for people traveling and coming to the city of Portland. They would like to see us continue to lean in on those kinds of events. And so I'm inclined to support the events office that is being proposed. And then I just want to end on a thank you to Donnie. Donnie, you and your team at BPS have been exceptionally helpful to the mayor's team as we have discussed the question of these service hubs, these temporary alternative shelter sites. You've answered our questions. You've worked with us to problem solve. You've helped us with outreach and materials that are accessible. It's really been an A-plus effort. I want to call that out and acknowledge your terrific work and BPS's terrific work on that. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to acknowledge Eric Engstrom, who's been leading that work.
Well, I
on the
always
grounds.
love Eric Engstrom. That goes without saying. Eric, thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks for your continued excellent work. I'll turn it over to our chief sponsor for the day, Commissioner Rubio.
Thank you. I just want to thank all of you. You've just put in so much time, and you're just so good at what you do. And it's just been so, I mean, the issues and the work are hard, but it's been easy to work with all of you. And I just want to say thank you for putting it all together and for the work that you and your teams do every day. Thanks.
Thank you all. We are, Donnie, did you have another comment?
Just thank you for your time. too.
Great. We're right on time. We are adjourned. Okay.